man. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, man.
We were just talking. Before we walked in, man. We were talking about some of your accolades, man. Gold Glover.
No,
Never Gold Glove.
No, I got the Fielder's Choice.
Oh, that one right there, the Wilson Defensive Player one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
Good enough for that, but not good enough for a Gold Glove.
Right.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
I think that one's actually better.
The Wilson Gold Glove.
I think that one's better. It's not more prestigious. I would much rather be looking at a Gold Glove, but I think that is a to the best defender, regardless of position.
Yeah.
You would know as well because you have one too.
Yeah.
Never won a Gold Glove, but I have one of those. I was the best defender in all the positions, but not my own position. I don't know how that works. You know how it works because you have one too.
Bro, it's your peers, right? Isn't your peers voting?
Yeah, it might be a peer. That might be a peer-driven one.
It's your peers voting on that, so that means a lot.
That would mean. I mean, I wasn't never gonna win one.
So never won.
But
that
would have been more meaningful to me as a player.
What having
a peer voted award like that?
Absolutely, because I mean, we look at the gold. I mean, it just looks cool, bro.
Yeah, and you get to get the patch on your glove.
That's what I'm saying.
That's all we wanted was the patch.
When I would look at Torrey's glove, I'm like, dang, bro,
I just want the patch.
Let me get that patch. You know what I mean? But his whole thing was he didn't even think about that type of stuff. You know, like the accolades of having a gold glove. It was just like, I don't want anybody to get a hit. You know what I mean? And it's just like that simple. That was his that. Like, if I'm not hitting, nobody's hitting.
Yeah.
And I love that, bro.
That was, I mean, you probably similar. I mean, that was kind of my mindset coming up too, was if I can't get a hit, you can't get a hit. And then I really only ever started thinking about it when, after my first full season, I got nominated for a Gold Glove. And if you look at my highlight tape, I'm like, damn, I was nasty. I can't imagine not winning this. I didn't win it. So then I started kind of going down that rabbit hole of like, okay, I need to position this. Ultimately, I never won one. Ultimately, I never actually changed what I was doing. Yeah. I just wanted to go make plays.
Yeah, you used to go make some plays, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give you. Yeah, but see, the deal is you put your body on the line, bro. I was like, that's it.
I don't know. We'll talk about one in a minute. We'll talk about one in a minute about putting your body on the line, because both you guys have a play that is kind of like, it's pretty historic. Like you can go, like if you watch like a 50-year highlight tape of like the greatest catches, like you two both have one that'll be on there for a long time.
No, let's just jump into it, because I'm looking at mine right there, and I don't know for you, but people always ask me, what was your favorite catch? What was your best catch? And they're different answers. Like that catch right there when I went over the wall of the Rogers Center changed my life. It, like, the moment I made that play, once again, I was just a guy who wanted to go out and make plays. I never thought about, like, was it cool? Did I do it? Like, when the ball was hit, I wanted to go catch it. It was after I made that play, like, do you realize what you did? Then I went home, watched it on Sports Center. But what I didn't know is it was going to change my life. It took me from a player who was like a fringe major leaguer who was trying to like figure his way out early in my career to like, and I was playing left field at the time. They're like, no, this is a bad dude. Maybe he should play center field. Shortly after that, I got a chance to play center, and I ran with it for like 6-7 years consistently. So, and your play going over the wall in Boston, I don't know if it was a similar kind of feeling for you, kind of like a life-changing moment. You maybe were a little bit more established at the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me too, it was like, I felt like I was always having to prove myself out there, like prove that I could. And maybe that was just me in my own head, right? I don't even think nobody was saying that. But for me, I was like, you got to prove that you're capable of playing here. Like we go to Toronto, or sorry, we go to Anaheim, and Mike Trout's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, like, I'm like, I don't care. I know who Mike Trout is, but I'm here now. You know what I'm saying? So that it was a little mind game that I had to play with myself to get myself up for games like that, because I know everybody's talking about Mike Trout.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, but I'm here today.
Who was the guy for you, like as a kid? Like when you were a kid, who was the guy for you that was like, dude, like that's how I want to do it. Like if I could be it, like that would be it.
Griffey.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing about Griffey and when I was growing up is just the swag. Obviously, everybody knew the swag, and that's kind of where I got my swag from. Like seeing that you could look cool on a baseball field. Like I was a righty, but I hit exactly like Griffey. I did the wiggle. I did the little chin thing. And people are like, what's wrong with him? We're like, what are you doing? Until they heard that bing, you know? It's like, ooh, yeah, that boy, you know what I mean? So, like, Griffey was my guy, man, because it was just, he made the game look fun. And that's what it was. It was, obviously you're out there competing, but it's like, when you use your imagination, you like, I'm Griffey, and I'm going to go play like Griffey. And, you know, that made me kind of step my level of, you know, my game up. Because I'm like trying to be Griffey, literally out here wearing my hat backwards, you know, doing just all the mannerisms that he had. That's how I like tailored my game after. So yeah, I was Griffey coming up, and that was my dude, man.
That's awesome.
Rusty Greer too, though.
Really,
Rusty, man. Rusty just was he's a great bro. He just made it look so like he was just hard nosed, man. The way he played the game, and I even noticed that like at a young age. Like I said, this dude is he's a grinder. I didn't know that word then, obviously, but
guy played hard.
He just played hard, man, and it was kind of unorthodox, like his hidden style, and I like that. You know what I mean?
Hey, for you, I mean, because you probably didn't know you were going to be a pitcher. You were playing all the positions. Like you had one as a kid,
dude. So I was a big. I grew up in Orlando, Florida, and like at that point, you know, it's like everybody. Like it seemed like every afternoon, either the Braves or the Cubs were playing on TV, and like where I lived, it was always the Braves. So Chipper was like the guy. Like Chipper was the guy. Granted, I loved watching that pitching staff like play too, but man, Chipper was the guy. And then I did play some outfield, and Andrew Jones. That dude was nasty. He was really good. So, but I was like, that's not my style of play. You know what I mean? I gotta, you know, be really good fundamentally.
Right.
But those were my guys. Now, so like, how old? Like when you were watching Rusty Greer, you were how old?
Probably 9, 10, maybe.
So, but at that point too, like to Kevin's question, like, was there ever a point for you where you were kind of like burning the boats, like it's baseball, or because you played some other stuff too? What was that? Well, I mean, what was that like? That trying to figure out like what path to kind of like really set yourself down with baseball and then basketball?
Man, at that time, I mean, I kid you not, it was baseball. I just played baseball for fun. Basketball was my sport because I felt like in basketball I could show a lot more emotion. Baseball, I was just good at it. And I was just an athlete. It was like see the ball, hit ball. Like I literally lived by that. And obviously until I got older and then you start thinking about all this stuff. But I just played baseball for fun. Basketball was that was the sport that I actually had to like work hard at. Baseball, I could kind of just show up sometime and throw a hit out there or go make a catch, you know, just be an athlete. So I didn't start taking either one of those sports like serious like that until high school, until I started getting recognized by colleges, starting to get, you know, those start going on recruiting visits and start getting all these letters. And then I was like, okay, I need to take it a little bit more serious. And not that I wasn't, it never really occurred to me that I would have to make a choice one day. I was like, I'm going professionally in both.
Are you?
Yeah, that was my thought, man. I was strictly set on I'm gonna be the dude that plays both sports professionally.
That's sick.
Yeah, I want to just go back, and obviously we got Austin Jackson here. Kind of introduce yourself, where you're from, and then tell us kind of how you got started playing baseball. Was it your mom and dad? Was it someone in the neighborhood, older brother? How'd you get started in baseball?
Yeah, man, Austin Jackson here, Denton, Texas boy, right up the street. I got my start really from my brother. My brother played, and I would go to all his practices, all his games, and I'd be running around. But you know, as I think about it, I've watched a lot more than I thought that I was. Like I played on the playground, but I was always like watching. So it's like I can really think back, and I remember my brother pitching, but I was like on the playground. You know, it's like weird the things that you're paying attention to, even though you don't, you know, you think you are. And so a lot of, you know, me wanting to play was because of him, you know, because of, you know, going to all the practices, going to all the games, and it just looked fun. They made the game was so much simpler back then, and so it looked fun. And you know, I got to just kind of go out and be an athlete and be with your boys, be with your friends. So that's how I got my start in baseball, was definitely because of my brother.
Yeah, because a big part of what we're trying to do here is, I mean, you got kids too. You see the way youth sports are handled now. And I love what you said too, because I think every kid at some point would tell their parents, or they wrote in their notebook or a school assignment. Like, I have one in this folder upstairs. When I was 8 years old, I said I want to play center field for the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's every kid's dream. But the dream I had and how I played baseball were totally different. I played it because it was fun. Yeah. It was something to do. I liked hanging out with my friends. I never played as a 6, 7, 8-year-old trying to get to the major leagues. I was always just, I'll play my baseball season, then I'll go play basketball, I'll go play football. Sounds like you had a very similar kind of upbringing too.
Absolutely. And that's how I model how I raise my kids. I still want them to be a kid right now, man. Like, I can look on Instagram at any given time and go through my reels, and it's a 7-year-old phenom that is doing ace skips already. They know the dorsiflex, the shin angle. And I'm like, this kid is 7 years old. What is that? Kid can probably beat me right now. You know what I mean? And like, as cool as that looks, I'm like, I just don't know if I want my man's sold out on it like that. Now we train, we do all that stuff, but I still want him to be a kid. I don't want him to grow up so fast that he looks back and is like, man, all we did that was train and hit and or go out and shoot. Like, I want you to do those things on your own, but I also want you to be a kid. So that's how I look at it. I want him to kind of how I grew up. My parents didn't push me. I just wanted it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for people to understand, and I'm sure you both have heard this statistic, that if you took every Major League Baseball player to ever play the game from the beginning of time, it doesn't fill up an entire Major League stadium. There's only been about 23,000 players to ever play this game. So for you to kind of sell out at this age with a 7, 8-year-old trying to get them to play at the next level is almost setting your kid up for failure. And there's 3 of us in here that obviously made it, but all of our paths are a little bit different how we got there. And I think it's super cool that you do it. And I feel like the more that we have ex-professional athletes kind of raising their kids that way, because that's exactly how I am. It's like, I have a gym right here. I got a batting cage. It's available whenever you want it. If my son walks in here and he wants to hit, I'll throw to him till he says done. He might hit 2 balls and he might be like, Dad, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm not going to say, hey, you didn't get your 100 reps in today. You're never going to make it. Like, be a kid, dude. If you want to go ride your motorcycle, if you want to go fish in the pond, go do whatever you want to do. There's a time and place. He's going to come to me as an older kid and be like, hey, Dad, I think I want to do this. And I'm all ears, and I'm for him when he wants to do it.
Yeah, man. I struggle with that too at times. You know what I mean? As thinking like, if we don't do this, are we going to get left behind? If we take a season off, are we going to get left behind? I know that, I didn't take a season off, right? But I probably didn't play as much baseball as they're playing at 7, 8, 9 years old either. And it's just, that's universal now. Like, if you're not playing 40, 50 games, like, are you going to get left behind? So I kind of struggle with that at times. And you say, if he take those 2 swings and he's like, I'm done, I'm like, you better grab that bag. Get that bag. And look, how many more in that bucket? Yeah, you finishing that bucket, brother. 2 swings. That, first of all, you rolling over. Yeah. So I need you to stay through it. All right.
So how old is your son?
He's 9.
9. Okay. Yeah. So I got a 5-year-old. So he's still obviously super young, right?
Right. Yeah.
He's super young. So we got a little time for that. But I feel like maybe when he's 9, it's like, okay, 2's not enough.
Yeah.
Maybe the whole bucket, and then go pick him up.
Yeah. And then pick the things up too.
So when you were at that point in high school, because you were at one point, I think it was the number 1 high school player in the country.
Yeah.
For baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And you were the 4th ranked point guard in the country. And you were going to pretty big basketball school in the ACC at the time, Georgia Tech. Was there ever a point in that kind of journey, like leading up to that, did you have a basketball coach or a baseball coach coming and be like, hey, man, you got to pick one? Like, you need to, like, if you don't pick one, you're going to get left behind, or, these other guys that are, investing their off seasons into this craft. Did you ever have to face that decision?
Alice Jackson wasn't letting that happen. My mom, no chance. I put it like this. My mom would, I didn't have to, it wasn't just about passing, like making a C. Like, my mom set a standard for me. She was like, if you don't pass my standard, you're not playing.
Yeah.
So the coaches were not messing with Mama Jackson. You know what I'm saying? She was not playing. So I never had to worry about that. My parents let it be known right away, even at 12, when I would have to, I'd have to juggle basketball and baseball. I would have to go to certain tournaments, and then I'd have to leave there and fly to Florida and then fly to California to play in a basketball tournament, no practice. And sometimes, the coaches would, they wouldn't like that. And my parents let it be known right away. My son plays 2 sports. He's going to play 2 sports. If you don't like that, we can find another team. So I didn't really hear anything else about it. And the same thing, even in high school, it was known that, I'm a dual sport athlete and I'm going to play both. And when my basketball season is over with, I'm coming to play baseball.
You have athletic parents? They play sports in any capacity?
Pops played. Pops was D1 basketball, went to Murray State. Mom, she ran track, cheerleader. So I would say they're, pretty
And
athletic.
your older brother, he played as well?
Yeah, he played all sports just like me, basketball, baseball, football, soccer, played it all.
All right, let's take us to that decision too. So, like you mentioned, number 1 high school player in the nation, number 4 point guard in the nation. Was there ever a decision that you were, or ever a thought that you were going to go to Georgia Tech and play both? And then ultimately, what was the decision? You chose baseball. Why did you choose baseball?
I definitely wanted to go and play both. All of my scholarships in basketball and pretty much all the recognition I got in high school was basketball. I got some recognition in baseball, but it was mostly basketball because that's what I was serious about. And I knew that if I could go to the basketball school I wanted to, I would just walk on and play baseball. I would just, it was basketball was more important to me because people said I should quit basketball and go play baseball. I would do better. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to go to a really good basketball school, and then I'm going to go walk on in baseball and do my thing there too. So, that decision, and to take it back some, being ranked that high at that age, when I was talking about earlier about how the game was just so much simpler back then, like that, things like that didn't even cross my mind. One, because my parents had me very grounded, and 2, it was just like I played the game for fun. Like for real. Like I played the game for fun, and I didn't even understand the magnitude of being ranked like that until a little bit later. And it was like, man, no, that was a big accomplishment. But also, it could have blown my head up. But just because of the way, like I said, I was raised, was just grounded. I didn't think about those things. Like it was just, it meant more to me what college could I go to than me being ranked. It meant more to me to be able to show people that I'm capable of playing basketball at a high level and baseball at a high level, as opposed to, where I was ranked in the nation.
How much different do you think that would have been in today's day and age with social media and obviously the ability to go and look at rankings so easily? I don't want to age you, but we're around the same age, but that wasn't a big thing. You would have had to go out of your way. You had to go on like scout.com or whatever it was. I don't even know any of this stuff because my baseball journey is crazy, man. Like I was like so naive. I had no one to look up to. I just played baseball because I loved it. I played high school baseball, high school football, high school basketball. My senior year, I decided I wanted to really kind of pursue baseball. And it was really just to go to the next level, to play college. I'm like, if I could play baseball in college and get an education, even at that point, I wasn't thinking about going to the pros. I was just like, I love playing ball and I wanted to go to school. And, what a better way to go to college than being an athlete?
Yeah.
So, I mean, would it have been different now, like with how prevalent rankings are, or you just think your foundation that your parents set for you would have just made you kind of naive to it and you would have been the same dude?
I like to think it would have been the same, but it most likely would have been different, right? Just with the social media. And like you mentioned, you had to get on some website or Baseball America, they were like printing that off back then. Like you couldn't, I don't even know if you could get on the internet and see that type of stuff, right? Baseball
You had
America.
to like subscribe.
Yeah. My coach literally walked up to me and he was like, hey, check this out. And before the game, he was like, check this out. And I open it up, turn to the page, and I read, and I'm like, what does this mean? Like, you ranked number 1 in the nation. I'm like, what? Like I didn't even process that. Like what do you mean I'm ranked number 1 in the nation? You know how many kids play this game? Like, what do you mean I'm ranked number 1? So I didn't think about those type of things, but I don't think it would have changed anything. It maybe gave me a little bit more exposure. I don't even really use the social media now how it's supposed to be used. So I doubt I'm, kind of private in that way. So I don't think I would have used it as well as I probably could have to kind of do marketing and branding and things like that. I don't think it would have changed anything as far as how I approached getting drafted or approached going to what college I would have went to. Obviously, they're doing a lot of different things with NIL these days that might would have, that might would have came in and play a little bit. but I think it would have been the same, man. I think I would have still, again, the mindset of just feeling like I had to prove myself all the time.
Obviously, you're like really come from a great family, have a lot of humility. Like, did it ever occur to you, even before you saw that article, like you were really good at baseball? Like, or did it come out as a shock when you read it? Like, number one player in the nation's me?
No, I knew I was good.
You knew you were good?
Yeah, I knew I was good, but not like in a cocky way. More of like.
No, it's confidence. I mean, I mean, you can sit here and be like, people ask you. I mean, yeah, I was the best player on my high school team. I wasn't ranked number one in the nation, but I mean, I would be sitting here and lying to everyone listening or everyone that I talked to. I always knew I was good. I didn't know what that meant, but I was the best player on every team I played on. I was an all-star every year I played on my high school team. I was the best player, more than likely the best player in my high school conference.
Yeah.
But I never understood, I just played, it never got to me like I'm better than everyone on this field. I just knew I was good.
I didn't do something to change this game right now.
Yeah.
Today I'm going to do something special.
Yeah. When your teammates are looking at you like, hey, I need you to do something, you're pretty good.
Bet.
And I felt that way when I was a little kid. It was like, oh, Kevin's coming up. We're going to be okay, But I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant.
Well, how can you though, right?
Yeah.
You just knew that this is, and two, watching guys like Griffey and seeing them in big moments, and using, that when you go out there, oh, I'm about to do something big right now, like Griffey, it kind of took that pressure off of oh, I need to win this game. It's like, no, I'm Ken Griffey Jr. right now. Do Griffey things, I had this imagination that I kind of felt helped me. I wasn't thinking about the game. I was like, nah, I'm Griffey right now, dude, have that swag. How would Griffey look right now, and that's how I went out there and I approached it. So I'm playing as somebody else as a little kid.
So, all right. So let's fast forward a little bit. So you're talking about I'm going to try and do both. I'm going to go to Georgia Tech. You're faced with a decision at the draft.
How old were you? 17, 18?
18.
18 years old?
Yeah. 18. Get drafted by the Yankees. Did you know right away, you're like, I'm not going to Georgia Tech? Or was it because back then, the deadline, was
talks.
what, end of
money
summer?
Talks a little bit, right?
What's that?
I said money talks.
Yeah. Because you didn't get drafted, you were up there. And then you get drafted by the Yankees too. So I'm sure that's a little bit of dang, man, it's the Yankees, because I mean, when you got drafted by the Yankees, who was the Yankees' current center fielder?
Bernie Williams.
Dude.
I'm not cracking in with Bernie. Center field, man.
But I mean, you got drafted.
But were you even thinking that way at the time? Because
No.
I got drafted and I was like, when I tell you I was naive, I was naive. I'll tell you a story about I was in the cage when I was in I was in short season ball. I was a center fielder growing up. My whole life I played center field. I get to pro ball. I play a little center. I'm playing right. I'm not doing well. I got the ass. My hitting coach takes me in the cage. We're hitting, and he's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I'm in right again." He's like, "Hey, if John Farrell puts you in right field, would you play right field?" I'm like, "Who the hell is John Farrell?" I didn't even know that was the manager of the Blue Jays at the time. So talk about naive. I was just living my own little life, So I don't know if that played a factor in hey, Bernie Williams, the center fielder. Were you thinking that far ahead? Man, if I want to be a New York Yankee, if I'm going to sign this deal to play, I got to beat him out? Or is it did you have some naiveness to you too? I don't even know what I'm getting into if I sign this. I just see dollar signs. It's going to change my life. It's going to change my family's life.
No, I wanted to be center field for the Yankees. And it wasn't even more so about beating him out. It was more my time is going to come. I'm going to prove myself. He's going to be older and I'm going to go mature in the minor leagues. And that's my spot. That was my mindset the whole time.
Dude, because that was the Yankees. So you signed with the Yankees.
What year was that?
05.
05?
Yeah.
So that's right in, they won a World Series a couple
between,
years after, right?
Yeah, in between the 01 and 09. So, And the Yankees are like, obviously, but they're also infamous on the minor league side too of having all these like special advisors, right? Like these legends just like walking around camp. So you show up in Tampa, right? You go to Tampa.
Yeah.
Who, like, you start seeing guys walking around? Like, who is it that you're seeing that you're like, was there ever a point of like, for you, was it like, dang, dude, like I'm here, or was it like a, what the heck am I doing here kind of thing, right? Because I think you have one of those. You either have one of them, right?
Both.
Did you have both?
A little bit of both.
Who did you see when you showed up in Tampa where you were like, dude, what is going on?
Well, it wasn't just one person. It was the whole clubhouse. Like, you're walking in, you're seeing Giambi, CC Sabathia, Kevin Brown, Jeter. Who else was there? Cano. Dude, these dudes are monsters, by the way. You know, I'm 172.
Yeah, you didn't look like you did now.
No, I didn't. I'd have fit in good. But I'm walking in and I'm seeing all the guys that I grew up watching. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I was shocked. And then Reggie Jackson walks around the corner. And he gonna let you know, first of all, that he's in the room. You gonna know Reggie Jackson is in the room. Seeing Yogi. You see Yogi, I mean, dude, like, you just...
Yogi's almost like a fictional character unless you've met him, because you see all the quotes, you hear all like the things about him, and then you're like, wait, that dude's real?
Yes, bro, it was unreal to see him for the first time. And you talking about just super down to earth, sharp. Really sharp, you know, he bust your balls if you know what I mean? Like, you thought you were cool, like, you ain't nothing. But it was just such a cool experience for me, and something I'm glad I got to experience, because it really taught me a lot about professionalism, you know, because the way that those guys went about their business, and I'm sure it's like that in every major league clubhouse, right? But for me, coming out of high school, and the way the Yankees organization is, you know, they do everything top notch, down from the minor leagues all the way. Obviously, we know what they do for the big league. So it just taught me structure. It taught me how to go about my business. When you're seeing guys making $30-40 million a year, and they're there that early, they're there working, they're in the caves, they're in the gym, they're you know, it really did something for me. It really taught me, you know, some work ethic, because I didn't have to, again, do that much like that in high school. It was just kind of show up, be an athlete. Well, you're going to a place where all these dudes are athletes, and they're a lot better than you. Do you want to be here? You know, get the best thing for me that the Yankees did was inviting me to spring training during that time, where I got to see the star. Dude, it was stars. Posada, you know, you got Nick Swisher in there. Like, you know, it was crazy. And it was probably the best thing for me, because it wasn't the wild, wild west in there. I mean, it was super structured, the way these guys went about their business, man. And, you know, that taught me so much, just coming up through the minor leagues, of how to handle myself as a professional. And, you know, even going with other teams, it's like, dude, you think you better than us? It's like, nah, man, I kind of came up different. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm used to. So
we're gonna go back to that, but you get the call from the Yankees. You get selected in the 8th round, correct? Yep. How much money you signed for it? And
800.
800,000. So you're 18 years old. That's
yeah.
Obviously, some would think it's an easy decision. Obviously, you had Georgia Tech waiting for you. You probably would have played both sports, but was that really the determining factor, the 800,000, or did you say, was there always a party that was like, I mean, it's the Yankees, I want to be a center fielder, like, let's go?
That part. I wanted to be the center fielder for the Yankees. The money didn't hurt, but it definitely was me wanting to be the center fielder for the Yankees. That was the you know, the driving factor behind it, because I actually went to sign in Tampa, and I had, you know, second thoughts. I mean, I had pen to paper, and I dropped it, and I was like, I can't do it. You know, I'm sitting there with everybody, all the top dog, you know, about to sign, and I'm like, they're like, what's going on? Man, I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I was just having second thoughts, man. I was having cold feet. So they let me go home. They let me go home and get my thoughts together, man, because I thought I was making a bad decision at that time, because I really loved basketball. So it was really tough for me to give that up. About 2 days at the house, dog, I was like, nah.
Was the Georgia Tech coaches, were they involved in it? Or like, were they calling you? Were they pressuring you? Or, not to like say that they were trying to force your hand a little bit, but like was conversations with them kind of playing in the back of your mind too?
Yeah, but they didn't pressure me though. They understood the situation and what they were getting themselves into, with offering me a scholarship. They knew that I played. They thought that I would come and play and walk on there, but they always knew that there was a possibility that, hey, I could, skip all this and go play baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I find this interesting. I mean, you got to maybe correct this for me and maybe everyone listening. You're the #1 high school player in the nation, and you had to walk on at Georgia Tech. If you were going to go play basketball, there was no scholarship available for baseball at the time.
Correct.
That's wild.
Why is that? You couldn't be dual scholarship? Was that the reason why?
Well, they didn't recruit me though. Georgia Tech didn't. Yeah, but I didn't get a lot of offers for baseball.
Did everybody just assume you were either going to go pro or you're going to play basketball?
A lot of I think colleges assumed that I was just going to play basketball, and so they kind of and honestly, that's how it was. I was going to play basketball, and I was going to walk on and play baseball.
Before we go down this baseball journey, so obviously a very talented basketball player, high school basketball player, 4th ranked point guard in the nation. Who were you like? Yeah, I think that's what my research showed me.
Right.
What basketball influences growing up? Who'd you like model your game after? What was your game like in high school?
Kobe,
oh,
bro. Man. That was my dude. And again, we talk about the Griffey and the doing the wiggle at the back. I mean, I had no calf issues, but I had a calf sleeve just like Kobe. I had a little nappy fro just like Kobe. I mimicked a lot of the things that I saw him do on the court. And I applied that to my game. So Kobe was my guy, man. I watched that dude, at any time I could, I watched him, man, just to pick up on just his tenacity on the court, bro. Like it was like the emotion that he showed in the game and the way that he played the game hard. And obviously, he was the man on the court, but he played defense. I loved that. I love to see a star player like care on the other side of the ball. So that was a big reason why I followed him and tried to mimic what I saw him do.
No, I love that you said that because you might not know this. Everyone knows this in here now, but my daughter's name is Kobe.
Oh.
I grew up in LA during the Kobe era.
Yeah.
He's my favorite athlete of all time. I give a lot of credit to my success and what I was able to accomplish to Kobe because of all the things you mentioned. Like the mama mentality was real for me. Like I think that was my biggest separator of why I was able to get to where I got to is not because I was the most talented. And we're going to get into that when you show up to, after you sign and you show up to, your draft class, you're sitting in a clubhouse. I never forget that day when I got drafted. I was a 32nd round draft pick. I sat in this room with all the draft guys from that year. You go through your physicals and your workout. Everyone's kind of sizing everyone up. You're trying to figure out who's the first rounder. I mean, the first rounders will typically let you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wasn't the most talented one in that room, but it was Kobe. Me growing up watching Kobe and me believing in everything that Kobe talked about and out working and not knowing when my opportunity was going to come. But if I just kept working and I just had this crazy mindset that I learned from Kobe. He was the biggest influence in my career outside of like my brother and, my parents. But Kobe was everything to me. So I love that you said that.
Yeah. Another thing about that is, my mom was very big on like psychology and just, and I think I used to tell her like, you used to tell me stuff and like get me like amped up. Like I always tell a story that we were at a baseball tournament in Missouri, and they had like all the trophies on the table before we got there, and there was a big old MVP trophy, the championship trophy, and I kept looking at that MVP trophy. I was like, man, I want that. She was like, what? That trophy right there? I was like, yeah. She's like, go get it. I was like, what do you mean go get? She's like, go get it. Then I didn't really understand it. I didn't process what she meant because my first game, I think I went like 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. I remember hitting extra like after the game and the next morning, like I was just off mentally. But whatever happened, it clicked. And I started going off. Like everything was just barreled, home runs, doubles, triples. I was playing great defense. Ended up getting the MVP trophy. but it was something that she would instill in me mentally. So that's really cool to hear you talk about. You weren't the most talented guy, the fastest, the biggest, the strongest. I remember I was trying out for the Junior Olympics, and everybody there, I mean, MVP with wood bats, everybody was hitting it out. I'm filleting stuff to right field, okay, with side spin on it, okay. So it wasn't even true backspin shot. It was boops, like landing right on the grass. But when the game started, what I started to notice when guys would get out or they would strike out or not get a hit, their whole body language changed, and I was like, there it is. They didn't know how to handle failure. See, I had already dealt with that. I had already been brought up like that, dealing with failure and understanding how to deal with failure and how to change the page. But when you see guys that are ranked, like you said, you walk in there, you see all the top guys in the Junior Olympics. I mean, these are some studs, man. Again, watching these dudes hit and throw, I'm like, what am I here for? But when that game started and failure started to happen, that's when I knew. I was like, that's where I'm going to separate myself mentally. I'm more mentally stronger than that. I've dealt with failure, so my body language ain't gonna change. I struck out, so what? Now I'm about to go make a play. When guys would run back out on defense, you could see it in their body language. You saw the shoulders. You saw them hitting the glove. Me, I'm just like, I'm good.
I was going to ask you too, because for me, and much like yourself, you have an older brother. So like my entire childhood was probably a lot of failure, trying to play with an older brother, his friends. So like I never got comfortable failing, but I knew that it was part of the game. And I think that was also a huge separator for me, much like you said, is I learned how to fail when I was a kid because I was always playing with an older brother and his friends. We'd play, when I was growing up, we had the adjustable rim in the backyard. We played dunk ball in the backyard. And, I'm out there at, 12 years old. My brother's 15. His friends are 18. I'm getting dunked on. Like I didn't love it, but like it made me tougher. So when I got into moments like that, I was like, I've been here before. I know how to pick myself up. A lot of people don't ever really talk about that because, as we all know, baseball's so much about failure. If you can't fail in this game, you can't succeed.
Absolutely. I felt a lot with older brother, man. Pitch up, tackle in the yard. You go in the street, you safe. You getting tagged. You go in that grass though. I don't care how old you are. We gonna show you what's up. And so it's like when I'm playing with older brother, his older friends. So then come game time, it's like this ain't personal right here. I just been taking an L all week.
Yeah.
I need a W. Somebody getting it. Somebody's getting it.
Yeah, it feels like too many. It feels like, and we love touching on this topic about youth sports and parents and stuff, but I feel like too many kids just want to be comfortable now.
Yeah.
You play with kids your own age. It's important to be the best, but at some point in your life, as we all know, you may be the best in your area, but like you said, you go to the Junior Olympics, you're now with the best kids across the nation.
Yeah.
And obviously when you get into pro ball, you're not just playing against the best kids in the nation, you're playing with the best kids in the world. It's a worldwide game. So I think it's so powerful that people understand that it's okay for your kid to get out of that comfort zone. It's okay for them to lose, I just moved here a year ago. I got nephews, and when I was gone playing, all I'd ever see them is like they'd have these trophies. They'd win every tournament. I'm like, do you ever play them up? Do they ever lose? No, they never lose. Well, what are you teaching them? You always have the best players play on the same team. It's like, no, allow your kid to be the best player on the worst team. See if he can make these kids better.
Yeah.
He might not win every game, but he's going to be better off for it.
Man, I like that. I like that, dude. For real.
Yeah. So talking about those moments, right? Like you talk about like, being able to overcome adversity and all this stuff. There's a lot of moments like in your professional career, like in the ascent up to, some very pivotal moments and great moments. But so you're with the Yankees, right? Let's go back to that. So you're with New York, you sign, you're like, all right, I'm all in, basketball's over. You're around all these legends. Then you get traded. What level were you at when you got traded?
AAA.
So you were like knocking on the door.
There.
You were there.
I was there.
Then they were like, see ya, hit the road.
Yeah.
Who'd you get traded for?
The three team trade. It was the Granderson, Scherzer, Schlereth. I think Smiley came over. Maybe in that. I'm not sure. I don't know, but it was a three-team trade. So, Granderson went to New York. I went to Detroit. And then we got
Scherzer and
Schlereth. Yeah.
So in that moment,
who went to Arizona on that one? Because that would have been Arizona that Scherzer was at.
Did Kennedy?
Ian
did Kennedy go?
Bam. Yes, Ian Kennedy.
Was Ian Kennedy?
He was because he was in New York,
right? He
was
in New York, and I think he went to
Arizona.
And, Phil Coke came.
Yep.
Over from New York, but then I don't know who else. The Tigers.
Like Grandy was the guy.
Yes, Grandy was.
Grandy was the guy in that trade that you got traded for. So New York was like, "Hey, we want him.
Mm-hmm.
You can go over there."
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
You comprehend at that time? Is it like, do you see it as, man, the Yankees don't want me? Or are you mature enough, old enough to understand, like, man, they're getting Curtis Granderson. Maybe I'm going to get an opportunity to play. Or is it like, man, I was so close to being a center fielder for the Yankees. They don't want me anymore. Is there like this kind of spiral, like feeling like I wasn't wanted? Or did you understand the magnitude of the trade?
I had a moment at first where, like, when it first happened, I was definitely, like in denial. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm here. Like, I've worked this hard to get here. I've accomplished some things in this organization where I feel like, hey, I'm next up. So yeah, I was in my feelings a little bit about it, until my agent reminded me, which snapped me out of it. He was like, "You want to be in the big leagues, right?" I said, "Yeah." So go show them why they messed up. And see, that's all I needed to hear to get me locked back in. You're all in your feelings about, I'm not going to be there. This is the opportunity to be in the big league, son. Remember that. That locked me back in. That locked me back in and say, okay, let me look at the schedule and let me see how many times we play the Yankees.
Yeah.
I might not hit home run, but ain't nobody getting to hit that game. I tried to beat them every time, bro.
So how many years were you in the minor leagues when you got traded? Did you go level by level? Were you able to skip some levels along the way?
I touched every level. I actually repeated low A the first half, and that's when I almost quit baseball. By the way, that's when I was like,
wait, you almost quit?
I was on the verge of it, man. I had a terrible low A like my first year. I'm just thinking like, I'll the next step though is high A, but then getting the spring training and them telling me, yeah, we're gonna send you back down to Charleston, South Carolina again. I was like, yeah, man, this might be it for me. I might go back and hoop. I still had eligibility.
Okay, so that probably played a little bit. You're like, man, I got this in my back pocket here.
Yeah.
I can pull the shoot right now.
Yeah, but mom was like, okay, come on. What are you gonna do? You're gonna go play basketball. You haven't played basketball in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna do something. You ain't about to come here and soak, and get, like what you got an opportunity to still prove yourself. You didn't get cut. Again, snap me out of it, And the crazy thing was I was having a worse year the first half. On the bus, right before All-Star break, I believe, we're going somewhere. Tyson, I forgot his name. Tyson. Anyways, the manager gets on the bus. He's like, Jackson, grab your stuff. I'm like, bro, I'm getting sent down. I'm going lower. Man, come on. He's like, hey, man, enjoy it. You're going to Tampa. You're going up. I'm like, what? I went to Tampa and I think the change of scenery did something for me because I went up there and got, like second half All-Star. Just that change of scenery, just getting a win right there did something to me. And just the change of environment, and just, again, getting that win, it's just like, it inspired me. It was like, okay, I'm moving up. They do care about me. They need to just stick me down here. And, I needed to work on some things. That's why I went to every level. I was not I was raw, polished, man. I was very raw. I was actually grateful for, everybody wants to get there and then boom, but I wasn't ready. I needed time, man. I needed time to develop as a player, as a human being. I wasn't ready. So I'm actually glad that I touched every level.
So before you went to Charleston, you were at a short season or even like rookie ball in Tampa, probably previously, or rookie ball before?
Went to rookie ball. The next year went to low A, Charleston.
So rookie ball, you had success immediately. Mm-hmm. You didn't fail. So really, Charleston was the first time you ever failed in baseball.
Yeah.
And it was difficult.
It was.
It's lonely.
It was very lonely. And I also was there with C.J. Henry, the first round pick, who actually was another basketball player. He had a scholarship, I think, to Kansas. He had that offer. So, I mean,
it probably didn't help you talking about it, right?
Oh man,
like,
we was having those conversations like, bro, what we doing, man? Let's go hoop. You know, like we some hoopers out here trying to play baseball. Like, what are we doing? And I think he ended up getting traded. And that kind of, locked me back in. It's like, okay, you know what? Let me refocus. Let me get it back. Still struggle. But again, I think just being called up, that did something for my spirits, man. That let me know that, hey, let's turn this thing around mentally. Let's turn it around because, I've came too far. I've worked way too hard at this sport to just give in because I'm struggling. So.
What did you find from high school to getting into pro ball in the minor league? What was the biggest adjustment for you? Was it the speed of the game? Was it the amount of games you played? Obviously, being a dual sport athlete, I was a 3-sport athlete. Like I didn't go to the minor leagues. I went to college, and that was the first time where I only got to play baseball, and I got so much better at playing baseball just by playing all the time. When you're raw like that, like you don't know what you don't know.
Right. Absolutely. And that was the toughest thing, just playing baseball every day. Not having that time to
play the weekends and then go to school,
go
reset.
hang out, go kick
it's hard.
With your boys.
It's hard when you go 0-4 and then 0-4 the next day.
Yeah.
0-4, and you're kind of looking like, hey, can you give me a day off? I need to get away for a sec.
Yeah.
But your name's in the lineup again the next day. I mean, that's the biggest challenge I faced going into pro ball from college was, man, there's no break. You're playing every day. You want to be in there, but at some point you're like, man, are they gonna keep allowing me to go out there? Like, I just need a blow.
And you're playing with guys that they're seasoned already. I'm like, how long have y'all actually been playing baseball? Because like I'm just. Like, again, I'm having fun. I'm still obviously now starting to see that this is, my livelihood. But, you playing with some Latin players that I'm like, dude, you 16?
Yeah.
This is a grown man I'm out here playing, like competing against, So what's going to separate me from this kid that doesn't stop playing baseball? You talk to him, you start to build up those friendships, those relationships with him, and you realize like, no, man, I got to change my mindset out here. These guys are serious about it. They're not just showing up for fun. This is their livelihood. They're doing this to eat. We're spoiled over here. We got all this nice stuff, nice cleats. These guys are coming over with the same cleats that they were playing with over there. It changes your perspective when you get to the minor leagues, when you're playing against some guys that, they're over here like trying to get their family over here. That's a different mindset. And if you ain't hungry like that, man, minor leagues will eat you up. And it almost got me until, I made that change like that.
Who did you play with in the minor leagues that like either Latin guy or American guy, anything, but like who did you play with where you're like, all right, I gotta step it up. Like this guy's on another level.
Tim Battle. I don't know if y'all guys know Tim Battle. He was a stud, man. He was a stud. He did everything just really good. Could run, could throw, could hit a ball just a country mile, man. And so, but again, with him, it was a lot of the mental is where he was. I felt if his mental game would have been a little bit stronger, I think that he would have had a lot more success. But seeing him throw and run and hit, I was like, no, man, I got it, because he was center field as well. So it was like me and him competing down there at that low A and high A level. So I was like, dude, if I'm gonna make this work, I gotta do something different, because although he wasn't having the same success as me, I think that the Yankees could see the talent, and they were like, if we could just, keep getting him the reps, eventually he would figure it out. So I knew that I had to step my level up, man, because he was a stud.
Did you play with Brett Gardner in the minor leagues?
Oh man, that's another one. That was a good one,
bro. That guy, you talk about just like,
dude,
unrelenting.
First of all, Brett, this dude could absolutely roll out. I ain't seen no white boy can run like that. Bro, this boy made me, Carl Lewis, I had to dig deep to try to be, and he was, man, Greg Gardner is one of those dudes that's like, he loves competing. And so it was cool to actually have him, we got to play with each other, at least in spring training, because that was another guy that I was competing against. Center fielder, could throw, could hit, had some thump, and could play some defense. Man, the dude could play. So being around guys like that, dude, it was unreal because it made me step my game up. It made me say, like, I know they're looking at him as potentially being, the center fielder for the Yankees. What am I going to do? I got to step it up.
Was he the center fielder when you got traded in New York at the big league level? Who was playing center field at the big league level when you got traded?
What year would this would have been? 2010,
2009 in AAA is
so
when I got.
2010 would have been your debut.
Yeah, 2010. So I want to say
Bernie, you don't think gone.
So in 2009,
was Granny playing center at all?
09, they won it.
Right.
09, they were World Series champs.
So I kind of feel like Bernie was there. I feel like it. We might have to fact check
that.
Yeah. you might have to fact check it. But
but I know Gardner was on that team.
Gardner was on
he was on that team.
So I'm not so sure.
He may not have been the center. But obviously Grandy was there in the second half. No,
because he got traded the next year.
Swisher was there.
Gardner was center fielder.
And Swisher was there.
Yep,
Swisher was in the outfield.
Right, maybe.
Gardner
was Pedroia, or not Pedroia, center fielder for Boston.
Ellsbury?
Ellsbury.
No,
he wasn't there yet.
He might have came after.
Damon.
Johnny Damon.
That's right. Johnny Damon.
So then I ended up playing with Damon too, actually, and was 2011. So he was there. He was there in 2009.
Because he might have got traded or signed in Kansas City, correct? No. He came to Detroit?
Yeah, he came to Detroit. I played with him for 1 year, and I think that was in 2010, maybe, if not, maybe 2011.
Yeah.
But I know it was 1 year. Yeah, Damon.
Okay, so you were. New York Yankees, 2009. You're knocking on the door. They've got Damon, Gardner, Swisher.
They got Teixeira at first.
Yeah,
Robinson Cano,
they're there,
Derek
right?
Jeter, A-Rod's there. Jorge Posada.
Yep.
The pitching staff, we can name all the guys.
TC.
What's that feel like? Like, I'm knocking on the door. I'm about to play with this.
And then they trade you, right?
Yeah.
And so one part of you is like, man, this is wrong. Like I'm supposed to be there. But I'm sure another part of you is probably excited because it's like, listen, like, obviously they didn't trade me for nothing, right? The Tigers had this guy in Curtis Granderson who was an absolute boss.
Yeah.
And they were willing to part with him to get me. And so you go over to Detroit. Jim Leland's the manager, who is a legend, right?
Oh, yeah.
They've got a good young nucleus over there because of
Miguel Cabrera.
They were in the World Series in 06.
They were there.
They lost to the Cardinals in 06.
Mm-hmm.
But they got Verlander, they got Miggy,
Bondurant.
they've got they got some studs over there too. So you're walking in as this guy that's supposed to replace Granderson in spring training. What's that like?
Again, bro, it was always that mindset of, okay, I got to prove myself, because I knew that I could play, but I knew the circumstance of who Curtis Granderson was. I know he was a household name. Everybody loved him. I watched Curtis Granderson, so I knew about him. Watching his interviews, I mean, the dude could say nothing wrong. The dude was awesome, right? So I knew that there was going to be a lot of, not hate, but kind of like, why would y'all get rid of Curtis Granderson and get this kid who nobody knows, has no experience, and so that was playing in my head. Like, you got to show him. You got to show him who you are. Now, getting to spring training that first day, them thoughts wasn't like that. That was, your boy was nervous.
Yeah.
And I remember, finally finding my locker, looking around, this, saying, hey guys, trying to keep a low profile. Leland, Jack, come in the office. I'm like, man, this is my first encounter with Mr. Leland, okay? He said, sit down right there. It smells like Marlboros. And can we open a window in this mug? Like, I'm allergic, like throat closing up, but nah. So, he sits down, he's like, how's everything going? And I'm like, oh, it's good. And, you happy to be here. It's good to have you. And then he just went straight in. He said, we don't want you to be Curtis Granderson. I was like, huh? He said, we want you to be Austin Jackson. Dude, when I tell you the weight that took off of my shoulders, hearing the manager, Jim Leland, tell me that, hey, we want you to be yourself. Go be you. Whatever that looks like, go do that. Dude, I mean, it just took this weight off my shoulders that I was carrying because I was carrying all this pressure of, dang, how am I going to live up to that? How am I going to come in and replace a guy like Curtis Granderson? Like, I'm not trained to talk in front of a camera like that. Mm-hmm. I'm not, I'm not hitting home runs and doing how am I going to compete with that? And hearing him tell me that he wants me to be myself allowed me to be myself. It allowed me to fit into that clubhouse full of, some stars at the time. It allowed me to fit in, and I found my own lane there. Again, not having to feel like, that pressure of trying to be Curtis Granderson, trying to be myself. It allowed me to mesh so much better because I could just be myself. I could be my genuine self as opposed to trying to be something I wasn't.
We're gonna come back to that, but I want to go back to, you get that call to go to Tampa, leaving low A, going to high A, change of scenery. You talk about kind of hitting the ground running, being a second half all-star. What really changed for you? Obviously the change of scenery, mentally, physically, but after that, was it kind of just smooth sailing? Like you went out, dominated AA, dominated AAA, was knocking at the door, then you get traded?
Yeah, pretty much. Honestly, like that change of scenery from me going to low A to high A, it did something. I out of nowhere just started doing a leg kick. I always watched A-Rod, and so I just went to high. I just started doing a leg kick out of nowhere. Started hitting more home runs, started driving the ball, and it kind of just took off for me there. And then I, did the same thing in AA. Went off. I think we ended up winning a championship in. Well, actually, after high A, I think I was sent to AA, helped win the championship there. So the next year I went to AA, got All-Star. I think we won the championship again. And then went to AAA, same thing, got All-Star. I'm thinking, this is it. This is my time. This is my time. And I remember my hitting coach, Butch Wagner, coming up to me after the season was like, are you ready? I was like, ready to what? To get out of here? What do you mean? Am I ready? Like, yeah, I'm ready. And I could tell by that the question, at that time, and just the look on his face, I don't really feel like he thought that I was ready. Because I hit 300, didn't hit 300 with a lot of, I just hitting, didn't hit for, I was a little dude, I'm saying, skinny dude. I just hit. Was a gamer. And when he asked me that and I saw his face, I was like, so it didn't feel right, but it made sense that I got traded because I didn't feel that he thought that I was ready at that time to make that, because that was the next step for me. I just hit 300 in AAA. That was probably the highest my stock was going to be at the time. So it's like, what are we going to do with him? Obviously they had Brett Gardner, who was doing well for them. And so I felt that maybe it's the way I answered it. Maybe I was like, oh yeah, I'm ready, and not, super pumped up about it. But I kind of felt like that had a little bit of a decision on maybe why I got traded.
So you mentioned that coach almost kind of in a negative way. Do you remember somewhere along that journey in the minor leagues, a coach that you had that changed everything for you, whether it was mentally, physically, batting stance, anything? Because I think we all had probably a coach in the minor leagues that I was fortunate my very first year. I had a hitting coach in the name of Kenny Graham. I was in Bluefield, West Virginia, 32nd round draft pick. Not hitting with a wood bat. I think I was hitting like 100 after half the season, right? And I remember going in his office and being like, everyone's going to give you every excuse in the world why I shouldn't hit. I played at Division II. I was drafted late. I'm like, I know how to hit. I've never hit with a wood bat, but I know how to hit. Let's work. He got me in the cage. He taught me a routine. It wasn't just hitting batting practice to hit it. He taught me how to like hit the ball the other way. And like, I need you to hit ground balls to second base. Then I need you to move your field over. Changed everything for me. And then I was fortunate to pair up with him again the following year in low A. And I had a moment of weakness where poor me, I'm not getting hits. And I remember after the game, I went to go find my helmet and my bat. I couldn't find anywhere. I'm cussing. Where the fuck's my stuff? You know, the bat boy like taps me on the shoulder and he'd say, hey, check the trash can. My bat, my batting gloves, my helmet's in there. I grab my stuff. I go on and look for him. I want to fight him. And he just looks at me and he's like, you know why I did it. Didn't give me any reason why. And it like changed my mindset. Like, you can't feel sorry for yourself in this game. You got to be a grown-ass man to play this game, you know, mature. Yeah. That was his way of saying, hey, you need to mature. Yeah. And, I mean, I was so fortunate to have a guy like that at a young age in the minor leagues. He changed my career. Someone I still talk to today.
Yeah, Butch, you know, I talk about it in that, but he was awesome, and he helped me a lot. Before I tell you the coach, though, but I think getting drafted by the Yankees and seeing their routine, especially from a hitting standpoint, that I learned how to have a routine in BP at a young age, like literally as soon as I get there. Like, I remember it was Jeter and Cano in the same group. And to see them go all they did the whole round was just go the other way. They just went the other way. So I got to see that as a young hitter, as a young player. And so they weren't just cranking home runs. They weren't cranking. These dudes were working on their swings, you know. So I got to learn that structure or how to have a routine when I'm hitting, you know. But James Rowson was, I think he's actually the hitting coach for the Yankees now, if I'm not mistaken.
Is he he coached with Oakland for a little bit too, I think?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think he's the hitting coach for the Yankees right now. But he's the one that really, I think, instilled that mindset, that FU mindset. He's like, dude, this is your box. You want to do a leg kick? You want to do a high leg kick? Let's figure out how to get that leg kick on time. You want to shorten it up? That's fine. Let's figure out how to be the best version of you.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was just him mentally just, you know, telling me little things like that. Hey, like, now let's drive the ball right now. We're not filleting anything. You know what I mean? It gave me that confidence of once I started to feel it, I was like, I'm going to take this into the game. I'm going to take this confidence in the game. He was the one that believed in me. You know, he saw something in me, I think, that not a lot of coaches did. Again, because I was raw, dude. Like, you could tell me to do something and I could go do it on the spot. You could say, hey, spread out and get your hands back and stay there for the whole game. Bet. Say less. I can go do that. But when him telling me that, hey, we're gonna let you feel like you. I want you to feel like confident in the box. So you like that leg kick? I'm gonna teach you how to get that leg kick on time. So when you landing, it's time to rock.
I mean, it feels like you're saying being an athlete first is pretty important to play baseball, right?
Sure.
You know, I feel like, and you probably experienced a lot of guys that you played with in the minor leagues, you too. Like when baseball is all you've done and it's not working, and going from spread out or a leg kick and losing a leg kick and spread out, it's impossible for these guys to do because they're not athletes. All they've ever known is baseball. They've hit the same way their whole life, and inevitably you're going to struggle in the minor leagues because you're playing with grown men.
Yep.
You're playing from, like you mentioned, guys that come from Cuba and Ecuador and Mexico and the Dominican Republic, where we can't even comprehend their mindset of what they're coming from. They're like, this is the only way I can better my family's life. Like, this is survival.
Yes.
I'm trying to give my family a better life. This is my way out. Like, for most of us, we probably had fallback plans. Like, if baseball didn't work out, like, I came from a good family. I could have worked in the family business.
Yeah.
I never allowed that to cloud my vision of what I was here to do. Like, it was baseball or nothing. You know, once I got into baseball, I was like, this is my only way out. But I always knew I had a backup plan. It's not the same as what these dudes come from.
Right.
So being an athlete is really important with what you do, because those guys don't know how to do that. It's like, you were able to make adjustments so quick because you were an athlete.
That and just having an imagination, being creative. You know, I talk to my young kids about that all the time because I felt that's what we had. That's what we had to go on. We didn't have the ability to get on YouTube and look at highlights from your favorite player. You had to catch that game or catch ESPN, and that was it. You know, like you had to use your imagination. So that little bit that you got to see Griffey hit or Michael Jordan play, then you went out and you emulated out on the court. You know, you had your tongue out. You know, you looked in the mirror and it's like, is this how, you know, King or Juan Gonzalez, is this how he was hitting? Like we used our imagination. So that's what I try to teach a lot with the younger kids. Like, do y'all even know how to play tag?
Yeah.
Do y'all know how to play tag? Do y'all play hide and go seek? Do you know how to like move your body? Do you know how to escape somebody about to grab your flag? Or you just stand like there's so many things that I think we were doing at a younger age, being an athlete. We didn't even know it. Falling off a swing set, learning how to roll and fall. Like we were training at a young age and we didn't even know it. And now, like to your point, these kids are, you know, they're in this structured setting and they're hitting in the cage and it's just, you know, they're working on, and all of that's great. But where's that just, you know, doing something on the fly? Are you able to make an adjustment in the game, in a game situation? Like when we're working off a tee, I just use this as an example. Like when I'm hitting with my little dude, I'll put a ball up on a tee in an awkward place. I don't want you swinging at that, but you're gonna swing at it. So you're gonna swing at this pitch a lot. Make an adjustment. Show me how you can move your body to get barrel on that ball. You know, let's do. We're not gonna do a whole bunch because I don't want you swinging at that. But I also want to see if you're able to make an adjustment in game. Can you keep those hands back? Can you keep that barrel in the zone? You know, long. I'm hitting it with all these terms, man, and he's 9, right? Like I'm like, but he gets it. He gets it. He understands. Like me being an athlete is, you know, that's universal for all sports. You know, like you don't want to just play just baseball because basketball can help you in baseball and vice versa. Football, the mental toughness, you know, being rocked the first time. You know, I remember that. I think everybody remembers getting rocked the first time, but once you felt it, you was like, I can take that. All right, so now I'm going into, you know, sliding into second base. You know, how can I manipulate my body to, you know, not get tagged? You know, how can I put my body in a position as an athlete to get the job done? And like you said, if you're just solely focused on just baseball, dude, you're missing out on all these other aspects of being a good athlete. What created some good athletes sitting in this room.
I mean, I always talk about like my football background. When you just think about football, you have to do things that you don't like to do. You know, I didn't want to show up to the field Saturday after playing a game on Friday, you know, and go run. Or, you know, you show up late to practice, you're rolling, you know, and doing 2-a-days in the summer. Like I didn't understand that when I was a kid, but when I got to pro ball, like, and even up through the major leagues, me getting comfortable with doing things that I didn't necessarily want to do made me better. You know, and I always tell people I was the outfielder. I was not because I took 100,000 reps on a baseball field. I played the outfield like I was a wide receiver. You know, all my life, me and my brother and my dad threw the football. I played high school football. Like that's how I saw playing the outfield. It was never, hey, I remember that one time when I was in Little League, you know, I drop stepped and I did that. And I was like, no, when the quarterback threw me the ball, I ran my route and I went and caught it. Like that's how I played the outfield. It was never from playing baseball.
Yeah, I don't ever think that me, if I wouldn't have played other sports, I would have been successful in the other sport, because I always talk about how, you know, the first step quickness in basketball, I had a first quick step that helped me so much in the outfield. With that first step, just that reaction off the bat and being able to take those angles. I just feel like if I wouldn't have played other sports, soccer, if I wouldn't have played football, if I wouldn't have learned how to, you know, move my body and avoid tags and, you know, just the hand-eye coordination that you need in all these other sports, I don't think I would have been as successful in baseball, because, you know, I was just being an athlete, literally just being an athlete at that young age and just going out there and playing and just letting the athletic ability take over.
That's awesome. And I'm sure like along the way, like say you get in Detroit and you're around all these guys, you have the athletic base and like kind of this like reservoir of ability that was developed from basketball, from baseball, from all these other, you know, just like organic things that had happened through your life that you're able to watch, like maybe a Torrey Hunter or a Miguel Cabrera in the batter's box or whoever it is, and you can pick up little like things that they do or how they move, and then you can just grab it and you can you just put it in your back pocket, and you may not do it exactly like they do, but you have the ability to kind of add that piece to your game because you have this like just broad, you know, like I said, like reservoir of movement kind of that you've developed over the years through not just baseball, which is awesome.
And bro, and that's so awesome you said that too, because like anytime Miguel Cabrera grabbed the bat, I was following him. I'm going to watch Miguel Cabrera hit. I'm going to watch Victor Martinez hit. I'm going to watch Maglio hit. I'm going to watch these
Pasio
Hall of
Polanco hit.
Bro, I'm
He's a
watching these
machine.
guys hit. And then when I hear, you know, nowadays these young guys, I know Miguel Cabrera isn't the same Miguel Cabrera that I played with, but y'all are missing out on some key tips, man, by not going to watch this first ballot Hall of Famer hit. It just blew my mind. So, like, again, like you're saying, being able to watch these guys and then emulate it, like being able to use it, I think that happened because, like I said, when we was younger, emulating all these hitters, these basketball players, you know, trying to be like them. So I kind of developed this little, you know, niche for being able to mimic things, mimic voices, mimic, you know, body movements, all that stuff. So
we're gonna get back to you here, but I got to know what it's like. Tell me some Miguel Cabrera stories. Like, what was it like playing with that guy? Because I could sit here very confidently and say he is probably, if not one, maybe the second greatest right-handed hitter to ever play.
He's definitely in the top 3. Like I would put him like it's like Albert, Manny, Miguel.
You could throw A-Rod in that conversation. Obviously, kind of different story there, but I mean, he's on that short list of right-handed hitters. Man, what was it like watching this guy every day?
The biggest thing that I tell people, like, Miggy was a hitter that had power.
Yeah.
It was unreal. Obviously, he was blessed with the size and the strength and the hand-eye coordination and the speed and, you know, with his body to be able to move a body like that, you know, 6'4", 270.
He's a giant.
He was huge, bro. Athletic, though.
Dude, you know, as a pitcher, like you normally, I'm looking at people from 60 feet away, right?
Yeah.
And we're at Comerica, and I get in the elevator to get in, and him and Avisail Garcia get in.
Yeah.
And monster too.
Dude, this guy was shockingly big. It was kind of like one of those, like, oh my God, like, you're him, huh? Like,
You're
all right,
him.
man. How you doing? Like, dude, massive human being. And it just, like, it blew me away because that was the year, I think he was playing third base with the abdominal strain.
Yeah.
That was the year he had the abdominal strain.
Because Miggy was at first.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Prince
was at first.
Yeah.
Prince Fielder too. Jeez.
Yep. And so that year, I'm like, all right, this guy is bigger than everyone. He's playing third for the first time in 11 years, you know, since he was in Miami, you know, playing for the Marlins. And he's clearly got a injury that he's had all year. And did he win the Triple Crown that year? Was that the year he won the Triple Crown?
That's the year in 2012. I think that was, yeah.
So he won the Triple Crown in a ballpark that is a graveyard.
Yeah.
Like the worst hitter's ballpark in the American League. And, dude, he was...
I mean, what's it like having a front row to a season like that?
It was amazing, man, because I felt like I got spoiled a lot by being able to see this dude's greatness. And, you know, you always hear about, you know, guys' work ethic and things like that, but Miggy worked, man. Miggy was a hard worker. This dude was not just all talent. You know, I remember walking in the weight room and just watching him just, you know, warm up with the hundreds. You know, just single arm dumbbell press just with the hundreds. I'm like, I know you're a big dude, but that's heavy to warm up with.
Was he standing next to Jim Leland while Leland was doing curls with his shirt off, smoking cigarettes? Because I heard about that.
I can't verify that.
I heard he'd do some curls.
But I'm not shocked if that definitely happened, but I just didn't see it. You know what I'm saying? So it was special, man. It was special because there was always this little language barrier there. So think about how you had to connect on a daily basis with somebody. You know, obviously Miggy knows English and he knows it well, but there's also
Yeah, there's comfort for those guys speaking their native language, for sure.
And he would say things sometimes that I'm like, Miggy, that's not how you say it. Okay, so let's figure out how to say it better so I can get where you at, brother. Because I promise you, that's not the word. Okay, so but him, I remember the coolest thing that that he told me. It might not be that cool to y'all, but I remember I was doing well, but I wasn't like doing as good as I wanted to. Like I wanted more. And I remember he say, Poppy, come here. What you want? What you want? You want it all. You want it all. You want home run. You want stolen base hit. You want this. You want that. You want why? You want nothing for nobody else? Nobody else can eat? And I was like, you know what? You're right.
Hey, you actually sound like a lot of the Latin guys I play with. I think I've heard this speech before too.
And it was just cool because he's like, here I am complaining about this. And Miguel Cabrera is telling me like, dude, you're doing great, but you're not doing good at like. And here he is. He's Triple Crown year, and he's telling me like, dude, you're doing amazing. Just keep getting on base. That's what you need to be worried about.
That's really what he was saying.
Get on base. Stop worried about don't hit home runs. Get on base, and I'm gonna take care of it. So it was just cool for him to humble me in a time where I was actually doing good and tell me like, dude, you're good. Stop wanting it all, man. Like, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I think for people listening too, I always try to tell people this, like, there is, you get to the major leagues, right? But people don't understand the talent disparity when you're in that major league clubhouse. Like, how much better Miguel Cabrera was than you, and like, it took me a long time to realize that, like, as I sit back and reflect on my career, I'm like, man, I shared the same field as Mike Trout. Like, I was his teammate, and like we played the outfield together. I'm like, I was on the same field as that guy. Like, I wasn't, I'm not that bad at baseball, but he was so much better. Like, I got a chance to play with the Mookies and the Freddie Freemans and Josh Donaldson and Jose Bautista. I'm like, their talent was so much better than mine. It's crazy that I got to share a clubhouse with them. But to that point, it's hard when you're in it because you want certain things. But I think for me, when I realized I am who I am in this game, like, I play good defense. I need to try to get on base. When I'm on base, I need to try to get in the scoring position. I think that's when I really found my way in the game and I stopped worrying about other things. I stopped trying to chase things, because it's human instinct. Like, you're around a Miguel Cabrera and you're like, I want to win the Triple Crown. I can win the Triple Crown. But when you finally get to a point when you're like, you know what? I'm good with who I am. Like, the game really slows down for you. You start to really have fun playing it. A lot of your worries go away when you start to have that mindset.
Until you don't even realize, like, you're playing the game at such a high level. They're just playing it on another planet. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you're playing the game at a high level, but it's not always going to show up in the stat. It was the cutting the ball off, keeping that single to a single. Things like that you probably did that every night, but it doesn't show up in the stat. But so you're doing things at a very high level, but it's not the home run to win the game. But it was like, but you set it up with that at bat. Whether you walked or struck out, you had a 12-pitch at bat. You got to see all the nasty stuff. Your boys behind you got to see all the nasty stuff. They see what it's doing. They can go in there and say, okay, I see what he's doing with 2 strikes. Although you struck out with 12, 13 pitches, we came back and won the game because you made him work right there. And those were things that I had to realize that, okay, yeah, I'm not doing, the superstar level stuff, but I got to play the way I play at a high level is what I talked about, doing the small things right, cutting off that ball in the gap, hitting the cutoff man, throwing to the right base, things like that they don't show up. The things that I started to realize, okay, like, this is what I'm good at. I have to play the game this way, to stay on the field.
Did you ever feel that way? And obviously you were really good. You were the closer for the Indians Guardians for a long time, but being around a guy like Kluber, you ever have those feelings too? Or were you always kind of in that mindset of like, I know who I am, I'm good? Or did being around someone, the greatness of a Corey Kluber or Miguel Cabrera, did it make you almost get out of characteristic? And not to say we never want to strive for more, but at some point you have to realize I ain't Corey Kluber. I'm not Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I remember seeing, and I was going to ask this, but when you're around those guys that are next level of what they do, right? They're in a class of their own, whether it's the Cy Young winners or the MVPs, like a Frankie Lindor or a Donaldson or a Trout or Ohtani. And maybe they are, but it's definitely not. It definitely doesn't look this way. But I remember looking around and like, man, like I got to play with some great bullpen guys too, like a Brian Shaw, or Andrew Miller, John Axford, some of these guys. And you're kind of looking around at your peers amongst the game, not just on your team, but like in the landscape of baseball. And I'm like, man, like this guy is really good at this, or this guy is really good at this. But then at the same time, like I was looking at Kluber and I was like, man, he's not looking across the aisle at Scherzer. Frankie's not looking across the aisle at this guy. They're just playing the game. So for me, it was like one of those things, whenever I got outside of like what I did well, like that's when I got hurt. And so it was like, man, and like Mickey Callaway, who's the pitching coach there at the time, and like Ruben Niebla was the coach for me at the AAA level. Then he was our pitching coordinator. He's been a resource for me. He's with the Padres now. But he was like, dude, it doesn't matter who's standing in the batter's box. Like, baseball's still baseball. It's 60 feet, 6 inches. The strike's on the same size. Yeah, it might be a different guy holding the bat, but that still doesn't change the fact that you got to make a quality pitch here. And so that, for me, like, kind of, like, that mindset always kind of brought me back to, kind of staying in my lane a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, we look around and like, dude, it'd be really nice to have a 98 mile an hour comeback sinker. Or it'd be really, really nice to have, Andrew Miller's slider, it'd be nice. I ain't got it. So I got to.
But you had that thing.
Yeah, let's bring this might be a good time to bring this up.
I didn't want to bring it up.
I'll bring it up.
Oh, go ahead.
Before you got here, he told me he owned you.
Hey, my man used to hit me with that hee-haw. It threw you off because it would come, it came up, but then it had so much, like it didn't hang. It was like, it went up and it was like, if you didn't pick it up then, it's gone.
Yeah.
Some guys you kind of see that like, oh, it's hanging. That thing, once it went up, it was like, dang it.
Dude,
I'm already taking the gloves off.
It was so funny because like we're playing these Detroit teams that, and I want to
played them a lot.
Yeah, we played them
the same
a
division.
lot.
Yeah,
Me and Ajax saw each other a lot, and then we played together.
Yeah.
And but like you're playing these teams that like 2012 y'all are in the World Series.
Yeah.
2013 you're in that crazy series with Boston.
Yeah.
2014 you guys are rolling, and then you just run into a buzzsaw of Baltimore who's just hot in a short series, which sucks.
Yeah.
Well, but you guys were absolutely loaded, and so some of those guys, it's just funny how like, I mean, I'm sure you've got a pitcher or somebody, but like there was just a level of comfort there. I don't know, but like Ajax is like dragging his bat to the batter's box.
Couldn't hide it.
And Miggy and JD Martinez are right behind him, like literally sprinting to the batter's box. JD Martinez at one point had seen 4 pitches off me, and 3 of them were in the seats. And so he's
another dude.
Dude, he was sprinting to the batter's box.
He's another one. Only thing I remember off you is I hit a double left center. You finally hung one to me. I think it was first pitch. Hit a double off you left center. That might be my only hit off you, but that's the only thing I remember. I don't remember you.
I tell you what, if anybody got hit off me post 2018, it don't count. Everybody got hit.
No, this was with the Tigers. Okay. No, we bring it back. This is when you was doing your boy in, but I remember you kind of hung me one first pitch and I got you.
It happens. It happens.
It does.
It happens.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a worse feeling in the game when, to his point, you're dragging your bat to the bat. It's hard to deny when someone has your number. It's even worse when that pitcher happens to be in your same division.
Yeah.
And he's closing the game. So if I'm getting that bat off him, it's probably a pretty crucial part of the game.
Yeah, and plus, I don't really remember dragging my bat like that, Cody. I was probably tired because I think
that was probably his way. He probably saw what he saw, and that was a confidence thing.
You don't even know what I was thinking. I'm probably like, bro, I am so tired. Oof. He thinking I'm worried about him. Yeah, I ain't worried about him. I'm like, okay.
All right, let's go back. 2012, get traded, go into spring training.
No, 2010.
Sorry,
yeah,
2010.
Yeah.
Get traded, you're in spring training. Is there one of those guys that you had mentioned that after you had that conversation with Leland, there's this big exhale, okay, I just got to be myself. I'm Austin Jackson. I'm not Curtis Granderson. Is there a guy in there that kind of took you under his wing immediately from like early on in spring training?
Brandon Inge.
Brandon Inge.
That's my
Dude,
guy.
what a name.
Dude, Brandon Inge was the dude, man. Like, you want to talk about a gamer, that dude was a gamer. And it was so cool, honestly, that I got to come up at the end of a lot of those guys' career.
Yeah.
Because it really taught me how to play the game that way. Like, they played a style of baseball that once the next era came in, it started changing with all the analytics and all the stuff. They played the game every day. You weren't coming out the game. You got Advil, Tylenol. You better take something, because if you came off the field, you almost look weak. So I played through all kind of stuff because that's what I saw. That's what I saw. I saw guys play through injury. You couldn't take them off the field. They played the game hard. So I loved that. I loved being able to like learn under a guy like Inge, that really took me under his wing. Maglio was another one, even though again there was that little language barrier there, but like we understood each other. And plus, he's just a solid dude, man. Like two solid guys that didn't look at me as like, oh, rookie, carry my bags and stuff. It was like, no, come over here and let's talk about this pitcher right here. Let me show you what he's doing if he's tipping. Inge was more just like, on the road and stuff like that, like making sure I was taken care of, making sure, my head was on right. I remember my rookie year too. You're not really getting paid that much. And, I burned through that little signing bonus I had. I burned. And my man Inge, man, he helped me out. I was in a tough spot. And I don't even know if I've ever told anybody that, but I was in a tough spot. And Inge, he was just there for me, man. And he hooked me up. But those were the two guys. And obviously Miggy was another one. I kind of forced my
Sometimes
wheel in
you got
on
it
him.
with those
I
guys.
had to get in, because he has to trust you. He's a big name, and he's not just letting anybody in. But I kept chipping away, and I finally got in there, and I think I earned his trust, and we became real cool.
That felt like with me and Jose Bautista, who's one of my closest friends now. But I mean, that was probably a year playing with him every day, maybe a year plus, like to get into that inner circle. Like it was just little by little by little. And then ultimately it took off, and it was great. You still probably played in the era of where veterans bought rookie stuff. You get some suits, guys hooked you up and stuff.
Oh yeah, I got a couple suits, and that was the cool. Inge hooked me up, man, and the big. Those when the suits weren't fitted like they were now.
They didn't have the guy coming in the clubhouse.
Nah,
Yeah,
you just
somebody had a guy though. Everybody always had a guy.
Yeah, it was a guy. It was always
on the road. Yeah. He was always on the road. It was like, hey, I got a guy in New York, or hey, I got a guy
Too
here.
much cologne on or something. It was like, you that dude. Okay.
Yeah, everybody always had a guy.
I
think everybody had the same guy. Just nobody's willing to say it.
It probably was though, honestly. No, I that's cool though that you talked about Bautista, because he was another dude that I loved to watch. So like with you watching him hit, dude, and playing against him obviously, and being in center field and getting to see the pitches that he hit out, dude, that had to be amazing, man. Like what was his thing? What was his routine?
So I always found him. I mean, obviously he was, when I got a chance to come up in Toronto, he was already established as a superstar, but I always found him really relatable because he didn't start out as a superstar. He played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was a third baseman, kind of a journeyman. He ultimately got traded over to Toronto. He had a coach, what was his name? He was there when I was there. I can't remember. He had a hitting coach there that, much like you talked about, he said, let's pick this leg up. Let's be athletic. And it clicked for him. But I mean, he was, I think the biggest thing that I took away from Jose, obviously his greatness and watching him, but he was the most detailed, routine person I'd ever seen. Whether it was getting to the field early, loved to stretch. He was always stretching. He always took care of his body. He was early on like nutrition.
I remember him being in the bullpen. He's in right field. Always
stretching.
Dude, is he hurt?
Yeah, he was the first person to teach me like, hey, this is how you take care of your body. And at the time when I got called up, I was 24 years old. I really started playing with him at 26 is when I got like my first real shot opening day. I was 26 years old. I could show up an hour before the game and I could play, right? But he was a little bit older than me, and he was really good in teaching me, like, you're not going to be 26 forever. Like, learn this now and it's going to save you later. And ultimately, I think that's the reason I was able to play as long as I was able to play, is because I just took good care of my body, and I learned that from him.
I wish I would have had that though. That's one thing that I felt was missing from my earlier days playing, is just knowing how to take care of my body. I didn't have to when I was younger. I could show up, drink me some coffee, let's get it, get a little sweat going, get some swings, and I could go. But getting older, and once I got injured, that's when I started trying to do it. Not that it was too late, but at the same time, now I'm already injured, and I'm dealing with some other ailments, tight hips, not being as flexible. That's one thing that I noticed about Bautista, like the way that he was able to rotate. Like I was always envious of that. Like, dude, how is this dude turning on 98 up and in and keeping it fair and hitting it out? Like I was like, his body works in a way that mine just can't, So it was always incredible. And I played with him with the Mets at the end. And I mean, he wasn't the same player, but watching his BP, he still had the same movements. He still was just like creating such natural backspin off the ball, like off the bat. It was crazy to watch his BP. Man.
See, you're not alone in that. It's like a lot of athletes usually change kind of their mindset, their routine post-injury. Mm-hmm. He was the first person who taught me like preemptive injury. Like he was making sure his hips didn't get tight because he knew it would lead to his lower back. And he could watch me run down the line and be like, hey, your calf's tight. And I'd be like, I don't know it's tight. He's like, I could see the way you're moving. Like he had that level of knowledge of the body, and like he studied the body. Like when a lot of us were thinking about other things, like he was reading books and he was like learning about the body, or he was taking an online course on kinesiology. Like he wanted to be the best. Like he wanted to play as long as he could play. And I learned so much from him, doing that sort of stuff.
Makes sense. I get it now. I get it. I understand why, his career went, the way it did, because like I said, I watched him in Toronto. I think Ver threw him a nasty curveball, buckled him. I mean, I don't know how the next pitch, like 99 up and in, that he, didn't, because he just saw one like that. So for him to see the next pitch like 99, like literally up and in, and for him to get the barrel to it and hit it in like the third deck
and keep it fair,
dude, it was like left center. It wasn't even like pulled.
Dude,
like,
I think guys, and I think fans. I think this is a great, like this conversation is a great glimpse in the side, kind of difference makers for guys, because like guys like Bautista and even Eddie, to Encarnacion in Toronto, like. They had a reputation around the league as being very smart. Like they would set guys up, right? And so like you think about that, and that was always like, I remember standing on the mound and thinking like, is he setting me up right now?
You thinking about
100%, 100%. This could all be like for nothing, but like I remember guys like those two guys specifically, and Eddie was like known as the guy who's like, if you're tipping, like they got you. They've got you. And so I was so conscious about like glove movements, and I was probably so focused on that I was like not focused on the pitch, and I throw a cookie and like, and
yeah, I could answer that question for you. It was yes to all of the above, but even if they were also the masters at making you believe if you thought they were setting you up, but they weren't setting you up, they wanted you to think you were setting them up. Like a lot of times they were trying to set you up, but maybe their plan didn't work, but they wanted you to maybe think that, oh, he took that curveball because he's looking for it, but really he was going fastball. Like you never knew what they were doing, but they knew what they were doing.
Dude, there were so many times.
And I just wasn't that good.
Yeah, dude. Later
I had
in my
the same
career,
info they had, but they were just
later in my career. I remember talking to these guys, and you like say you throw like, and then Miggy would do this too. And Miggy like never took. Like he was like the greatest hitter, had zero plate discipline. Like he swung at everything, right? But you would throw him I'd throw him my best curveball, right? And he would just take it like it was nothing. And I'm like, I'm not throwing that again. He saw that the whole way. And then you'd see him like a month later and he'd be like, dude, I'm so glad you didn't throw me another curveball. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And he's like, oh man, dude, that thing was so nasty. I'm like, well, I threw you a fastball down and away the next pitch because I thought you saw the whole way. Like, no, man.
No,
like,
he'd be the first to admit it too. Like that was what's so cool about Miggy. Miggy would be like, Puppy, I don't see it. You'd be like, what? What do you mean you don't see it?
And there's nothing
we don't
worse.
have.
Hey, and there is nothing worse as being a teammate of a guy like that who
Yeah.
you know is way better than you.
And
then he comes back
he
and tells you that, and you're like, well, what am I supposed to do?
What do you mean? You can't see it. No,
If you can't see it, what am I
going
to
do? You got to see it,
Yeah,
bro.
you have to see it because I ain't seeing it if you're not seeing it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to you.
All right.
Go through spring training, major league debut. What's that moment like? And who's there? Who came? Your brother come? Your parents come? They're all there?
Parents.
Let's go back real quick. You're in spring training.
Yeah.
When did they tell you you're making the team? Did you know you were making the team? I guess you had an idea. You got traded over. You read the room. You have a pretty good idea. You're probably taking most of the reps in center field, but you still need that confirmation. How'd that happen?
No, it was my job to lose. Like, I was coming over to be the center fielder unless I just absolutely blew it, which I knew wouldn't happen because I knew that I could play a style of baseball that could fit well with that team. I never hit leadoff before, so I wasn't a leadoff hitter, but that kind of allowed me to just be a slasher, just kind of do a little bit of everything, and it really actually helped me hitting leadoff because I could just kind of be an athlete again, just, however I needed to get on base, bunt, go the other way, drive a ball. Like I could do a little bit of everything. And so like it was my job to lose. And I wasn't gonna lose it. Like I knew when I stepped foot in there, I was like, this is where I'm gonna be at. I'm playing center field.
So I know you say that and ultimately you believe that.
Yeah.
But there's still a part of you that thinks like, are they gonna tell me? Like I wanna, because for me, like I wanted to make that phone call home. I wanted, whether it's getting called up, and I got called up, I didn't, you got a chance to come out of spring training, but still like you think about all the time your parents, your brother, your family, that time and energy they put into you, it's equally as cool for them to find out. So I remember like finally hearing it from the manager, like, you're getting called up and having that moment to like call my parents and be like, man, everything we sacrificed our whole life, like it's coming true. Like, I'm sure there's part of you that still wanted to hear from Jim Leland, like, hey man, you're an opening day center fielder and you're going to be leading off.
Well, yeah, that was part of that conversation we had though when I first walked in there. It's like, hey, you're our center fielder. That's and awesome. So, you know what I mean? Like that again, but not only but that putting me at ease a lot, but just knowing that I could, like, I got it's my job to lose. Like, go out here, no matter if I would have stunk it up, no matter, if that would have happened or not. I knew that not only my performance, but how I fit in the clubhouse was big too. Like I was not a, go sit in the corner guy. Like I would talk to guys. And when I was with the Yankees, they don't know who I am. I'd go up to Jeter and be like, "What's up, G?" He's like, but you're gonna know me by the end of the spring training though. Like that's how I was. So when I went in there, yeah, I was a little bit reserved at first, but like I made sure that I fit in because I was like, I'm here. Like this is my opportunity. So I'm going up to, Verlanders and, I'm trying to Gerald Laird, who was there at the time. This dude, Gerald Laird, he's something else. But I made myself, my presence known, not in a cocky way, but just as who I am. I like to joke around. I like to make dudes laugh. And we at this clubhouse 7:00 in the morning, we about to laugh and cut up and listen to some music a little bit, and so that's how I kind of, made my presence known. Like I said, I knew once I left that meeting with Jim that this is my job to lose, and I ain't losing it.
That's a smart manager. Like, obviously, like he's in Cooperstown, but
yeah,
you want your guys to come in and
be themselves,
and relax, and play. You don't want guys uptight.
That gives you the best opportunity to go out there and play your game.
Yeah, there's no reason to put you on notice or like keep you on notice.
Yes.
God, that would help me so much earlier on in my career. I probably played. I was up and down for 2 years, and then I made the opening day roster, and then I established myself in 2015. Played every day. 2016 played every day. It probably took me 2 full years in for me to stop kind of looking over my shoulder. I always knew that there was like a reality you could get sent down, like performance, comes and goes. But like, I felt like after 2 years, and maybe it was a conversation my manager should have had with me, And maybe he did. Maybe I didn't hear it. Maybe that's just the way I was wired. I was always kind of looking over my shoulder. Much like you said, I always played injured because I knew how hard I worked to get there. And I felt like if it wasn't me, I was that kid at some point, much like you were, when I got signed, I was like, I'm gonna take his job. I didn't know how many levels I had to go through if I was ever to get there, but that was my mindset. And I knew there was probably a kid just like me sitting in Dunedin, Florida, with the same mindset. So I never wanted to come out. I played every day, mostly out of fear, because if I didn't play, I didn't want to get Wally pipped.
Yeah.
If I wasn't playing, someone else was going to do it. I was like, I had to believe that me playing at 50% was better than the next guy.
Yep. I agree with that 100%.
So take us to your major league debut. What's that moment like?
It was amazing, man, because it's like all your hard work, is finally paying off. You finally at that moment that you've always dreamed about. I told my mom when I was, I think, 8 or 9 years old, like, I'm gonna be a Major League Baseball player. Now, whether I knew what I was talking about at the time, but I told her that. So, coming full circle and having them there in Kansas City for my debut, I mean, it was amazing, dude.
Who'd you face?
I don't remember who was facing who we were facing at the time.
And do you remember your first hit though? Because you got a hit. You got a hit in your debut. Wasn't your first at bat?
No, I think it was my second or third. I got a double down the line with a ribby. Yeah.
Get that one on. Get that one out the way.
Does that moment for you, okay, because I mean, I'll share my story after you, but there's obviously this sense of feeling like you belong when you make your major league debut. You think about, like you talked about, this full circle moment. You have this kind of snapshot of your whole life, like how much work I put in. It's this unbelievable moment. You're wearing a major league uniform, the anthem's going on, it's opening day, it's a friggin' holiday, it's opening day, man, and they call your name, you run out of the dugout, like there's no better feel. I get goosebumps thinking about it, but in my case, I went 0 for 17 before I got my first hit. So like there was definitely this element of, am I ready? Am I good enough? Is there doubt? And I'll never forget that feeling to get my first hit. Like, talk about a monkey coming off your back, talking about this complete 180 of mindset. Like, I do belong here. I can hit at this level. Unfortunately, it took me so long to do it, but I was wondering if, you getting that hit down the line was kind of that moment where you're like, I belong here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, bro, I'm not trying to be. I'm not.
No, be as cocky as you want, because being cocky and confident get blurred sometimes. Yeah. Like, you can be confident with humility, like,
right.
And at this level, and as Cody could attest, because we all played there, if you don't have confidence, you ain't playing at this game. Yeah. You have to have the ultimate belief in yourself. Yeah. So please speak freely on that,
bro. I was super confident in my ability. And I think a big part of that was because I was young. When I looked out on the field, all these guys are 30, 32, 33 years old.
How old were you when you made your debut?
24, 23, 24.
Okay.
So I was young. I was springy. I mean, I could change the game with my legs, and I knew that. So I knew that even if I didn't come out tearing it up with my bat, I was so locked in on my defense that never faltered. Like, I always knew that this is what's gonna catch people's attention, is what I can do with this glove. I'm gonna hit because I can hit, but I'm not always gonna hit. But I'm gonna always bring that glove. So that's where I was like, if I'm not swinging the bat well, I'm gonna open some eyes with this glove, because I'm gonna just go get it.
Making your big league debut on opening day is extremely rare. Like, that's extremely rare. Normally, it's like, hey, you're getting called up because either A, we're out of the race, or somebody got hurt, or we want to protect your service. Because there's service time manipulation there too, and there's it's a conversation for another time. But we want to make sure we get an extra year of service out of you, dude. They were like, hey, you're the guy, and so you've been kind of, most of the guys you get told, and then you're in there the next day. You get told at the beginning of camp, you've got 6 weeks of spring training games as you're getting ready for your debut. It's against Kansas City. You know who it's against. You know where it's at. You know what day it's going to be. I'm sure that kind of like anticipation has got to be. Was that for you? Was that like, was it like kind of like, oh man, this is kind of nice? Or was it like the closer you got to it, you're like, all right, man, like I hope I'm ready, or like, tell me about that.
Dude, I was so ready. I'm not gonna lie, man. I think getting traded, that kind of sparked something in me a little bit. Like I already had that spark, obviously wanting to be center fielder for the Yankees, but then getting traded, there was a little bit of me that felt like I wasn't good enough. Not well, I thought I was good enough, but teams didn't think I was good enough. And maybe also that the Tigers, maybe they're just kind of trying this out. I'm like, this isn't a tryout. Like I'm about to be y'all center fielder. Like and I was ready for it, dude. I was hungry for that like opportunity because I've been waiting for it. You go through all your minor league levels and you touch every level and you learn and you mature and you get to AAA and my next stop is the big leagues. That's where I'm going. And obviously getting traded, I started having that mindset. I don't care what team it's with. Once I get traded to whoever I'm getting traded to, I'm going to the big leagues. That was the mindset. There was no other. There wasn't a fear. A little nervousness, right? You're going into a whole different situation, like because you want people to like you. You don't want people to not like you. But as far as feeling like, man, I hope they choose me. It was never a thought.
Yeah, I always think, it's easy to think about it when you're done playing. And I thought about it a lot more. And that's a message I share with a lot of guys that I get to work with if I go to minor leagues and I talk to people. But were you mature enough or smart enough to understand when you were playing in the minor leagues that you were auditioning for the other 29 teams as well? Because that's a big message that I share with people. It's like, you could have been a guy who said, "Oh man, I'm in camp with the Yankees, Bernie Williams there, like I'm going to get blocked." But the reality is when you're in the minor leagues, is every time you're on the field, it's an audition. Not only for your current team, but for the 29 other teams cuz much like what happened to you, you get traded.
No, I was naive to it. Again, man, I had that thought like when I have my mind set on doing something, you could tell me, "Hey man, they're looking at trading you." Like, look, they're doing it right here, and I'd be like, "Yeah, nah, I'm gonna still be center field for the Yankees." Like, no, dude, they're about to trade you. I'm like, "They ain't trading me yet."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's crazy. Maybe I just, it's the kind of the way I'm wired, the way I was kind of raised of like, once you set your mind on something, that's what we're doing. You go for what you want. I don't care what anybody tells you. You want that MVP trophy? Go get it.
No, I think it's powerful. And I'm going to ask Cody the same question I've kind of shared, kind of my story a little bit, but like for me, ignorance was blind. Like I didn't know what I didn't know. And I think if I was, where I'm at now and I had to go back in time and do it all over again, and I know as much as I know the business of baseball. I know, all the rules, the DFAs, the options, all the things, like my head would have been spinning. I think my greatest strength was being so naive.
Mm-hmm.
And I fear for a lot of kids because they know all the rules. They know everything about everything. They know how ARB works. They know how DFAs, they know options. They could, they have all the reasons and they have all the resources to not have that mindset. And I think for me, and I don't know if it was the same for you, like I didn't have, a kid from my high school or a kid from my college that was coming back and being like, "Hey, this is what the minor leagues like." I went into that thing completely blind. I had no idea where I was going. I didn't realize there were 7 levels. I thought, man, I'm going to get a phone call being single A or something. And, they'll call me up in a week or so. I didn't know it was like year after year, level after level. Naive, man, naive. And I think it played into my advantage because I always just saw it as, y'all are my teammates. But we're fighting for maybe one spot up there. Like we could be best friends and I'm going to do everything in my power to make you better and help you, but it's going to be my spot.
Yeah, man.
I mean, did you have that same sort of naiveness to the...
I wasn't that naive.
Okay.
There was some level of like, I just didn't know what options were. I didn't know how the 40-man roster transactions operated. I didn't know what arbitration was, none of that stuff. Right. But I knew that I was a late pick. Like I was 23rd round pick and I was a bullpen guy straight out of the draft. And I knew that most of the guys they wanted to protect weren't. They were in the rotation. So my only thing was, and I think this helped me because I was playing with house money, essentially. It was like, man, you're not supposed to make it kind of thing. And it was like, man, the only thing I was going to try and do is I was just going to try and make it as hard as I could on them. I was going to try and make it as hard as I could on them. And I also wanted them to second guess, like, taking this other guy in the 3rd round and me in the 23rd. Like, I wanted to be like, told you.
Yeah, the chip.
I told you. And so, you know, but I mean, it didn't really start to hit me that, like, dude, you got a shot here. And for me, it happened quick. Like, from the time that I got drafted to the time I made my debut was a year. So I got there quick. And, you know, but at the same time too, like, you see guys that that are later draft picks that in the lower, you know, there'll be a kid from A-ball come back up at AAA for a few weeks, right? That doesn't mean you're in AAA. That means you're a warm body because somebody's hurt or something like that, right? And so for a while there, I didn't know, like, they moved me up to AA pretty quick. And I was like, dang, like, I'm just a warm body. Like, I'm the warm body, right? Like, I'm the guy here that's just in case this guy goes over his pitch count, they'll pitch me till my arm falls off. You know, and it wasn't until, like, they started using me a certain way that I was like, all right, like, I'm you know, they took notice, right? So
that's cool. That's cool, man. That, I mean, like, well, similar to me, I was in that situation where after the high A season, I was sent to AA as you know, they were going to the championship. And instead of looking at it like, I'm a warm body, I was like, I'm about to make some noise. I'm about to make some noise.
That's a good place to be.
I mean, I didn't have, I'm playing with house money. I ain't even supposed to be here. My season is over with, and they calling me to come help them win a championship. Oh, yeah, I'm about to do that. Like, that was I love that. I was like, I'm not supposed to be here. First, I think I went to AAA, tried to, I think, finish out the season with them, and then I went to AA and helped them win a championship, and I loved it, dude. I wanted that opportunity. I wanted to be like, put me in a situation and see what I can do.
Yeah.
You know, I know I'm not the biggest, the strongest, the fastest, but I'm a gamer. That was my whole thought. Like, give me that opportunity.
So we've talked about your debut. We've talked about your journey from, you know, youth sports, basketball, whole deal, right? You finally, and you get called up in 2010 on a team that's got some dudes on it, right? 2012, y'all are running the table. You've got a roster that's loaded with guys. You're in your 3rd season now. So you're a bona fide big leaguer at this point, right? You know, it's kind of like that old saying, like, you're not really a major leaguer until your 3rd year or something like that. But, like, you're there, right? Like, you're a bona fide big leaguer. You're playing with some guys. Walk me through, because y'all didn't have, in 2011, y'all went to the playoffs, but y'all were done quick, right?
Rangers took us out, I believe.
Yeah, done pretty quick. That was when I think it was maybe Nelson Cruz at that big grand slam or something like that. Yeah.
That was the year they went to the World Series.
11 the Rangers.
Cardinals won. That's when the
Rangers.
Yes. That's when the Rangers
David Freese. That was the David Freese year.
Yeah.
So 2012, y'all, you know, the Rangers have been in 10 and 11. So y'all end up making it. And walk me through, because that's like, I mean, I got to play in a World Series, and, like, dude, there's no stage like it. I mean, it is, nobody else is playing. You're it. You're the only game. What was that like?
Well, first, it was awesome because that was the first year that we got Prince, and Prince was a big you know, motivator and a big you know, pusher for me. Like, he taught me some things that, like, I'm very appreciative of, and I'm glad I got that little small window to play with him. But in spring training, first of all, in spring training, dude, we worked out like some animals. Like, if the first day Prince walks in the weight room and he's looking around, he's like, are we bodybuilders? Are we baseball? I mean, because we had, you know, got to the playoffs, and we lost, like, we were on a mission, and we really were. And so I just remember Prince, he's just like, dude, what? Like, we don't lift like this. Like, you gonna get hurt. And she eventually did get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But it was in spring training where Prince came up to me and said, if you get a 370 on base percentage, we going to the ship. And so I kid you not, that is like all I thought about the whole year. And he put a watch on the line too. So that definitely.
Yeah,
nice.
Motivation.
Yeah, it was a Breitling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or Panerai, I'm sorry.
We
Still
can all
got
be
it.
bribed.
Hey. So it was cool, man, that like I had a focus. Like I wasn't even thinking about the ship. I'm thinking if I can do my job, he instilled in me to make me believe that if I did my job, got a 370 on base percentage, we going to the ship. Ended the season 377, went to the ship, got me a Panerai. But that whole year, there was like we had so much, like there was a lot of emotion because we felt that was like our best year in spring training. Everybody was in physically like great shape. Probably the best shape I've been in strength wise in, playing in my career. And everybody was just in great shape. We had this goal, like we wanted to go to the ship, and it's like we held each other accountable during the season too. Like if somebody wasn't, having a little down moment, like we picked each other up. We were like a for real family, which I'm sure we've all played with those groups. But like it was a legitimate family, man, where everybody just cared about each other. Like even through our down moments, we were still picking each other up. And we had obviously a great season, had a great playoff, and got to the World Series. And I remember being in San Francisco. It's unreal feeling, man. Finally got to see some of the older legends for San Fran. So that was always pretty cool. Willie, he came through. That was cool. But we had. I remember going out to the dugout in the first game in San Fran. I remember Prince was sitting out there, and I just happened to look over in the dugout, and Hunter Pence is over there. I'm not, listen, I ain't joking. My man's eyes was this big. Everybody was in a circle, and he was just going around just like, and these boys was getting hyped.
I remember that.
Chilling. We on paper, we got this. Like, we good. I said, hey, I was like, Prince, look at them. He was like, man, that's that fake enthusiasm. Nah, man. These boys, they were on a mission. We came off beating the Yankees. We swept them. And I remember we at Comerica, we would turn all the crowd noise up. We would try to emulate that sound, and we would compete against each other. But it's nothing like that because that first at bat in San Fran, first pitch thrown to me, and it was called a strike. It was a ball, but it was called a strike, bro. When that crowd erupted, I was like, oh, shoot, bro. Like, I had to step out and gather myself. Like, this is it.
Was that the game that Sandoval went off on Verlander?
Bro, I think that was a big, like, that took...
Because Ver, at that point, he was
at the peak.
Bro. Did he win the MVP that year? Maybe?
No, because I think Miggy... Well, shoot, did he? Miggy won MVP...
Yeah, one of those years.
What was it? MVP
and Triple Crown.
Triple Crown.
Yeah.
But Ver won it 1 year too. I can't remember what year that was. So Ver, we're going in super confident in our staff, and to see him, did what he did off Ver, bro. I think it just kind of like it shocked us. It shocked us. And then I always talk about Scudero, bro. Scudero was the X factor to me. Because Scudero, when he came up, he played small ball. He didn't try to do too much. He was super calm. Kind of reminded me of Omar Infante, but super calm, just in the moment. And I remember in center field just seeing like he was just so calm. And he was just getting base hits, just keeping the line rolling, And then you got Hunter Pence up there, just all this, excitement up there in the box. You got Crawford, it's just... They had a squad, man, but on paper we looked like the team to beat. And
you guys did. I mean, that roster wise, man, like
we had it all. The pitching, but we weren't prepared for, I think, how intense they were. We weren't prepared for that. We just swept the Yankees. Who else that's who we felt was the team to beat. Like whoever wins that series is going to win the World Series. So sweeping them, we like,
we're there.
We're there. We're going to win this.
Do you think that worked against you?
I do. I do think it did, because I think that if we would have kept playing, we would have still been in. And I'm not making an excuse, because they played really well from pitching to hitting. I just think that we kind of got too relaxed. We kind of like, man, we're good. Let's just go in here. Another series. Let's take care of business. And then we got shocked.
Is that still prime Lincecum at that time?
He was in the bullpen.
He was in the bullpen.
But
Bumgarner. Bumgarner and
it was Matt Cain.
Matt Cain was a beast. Yeah. What was the closer? The
Sergio Romo.
Oh yeah, Slider
Wilson,
City.
Brian
yeah,
Wilson.
Slider City.
Brian Wilson. They had they were stacked.
Jeremy Affeldt was down there.
Affeldt was there. They were really good, dude.
Yeah.
So I never got a chance to play in a World Series. I got a chance to play in some postseason games in my career. Anything prepare you for playing in the World Series? I'll ask you the same thing. Anything prepare you for that moment? Because I mean, that's what we all dream of.
I think
we all dream of as a kid,
we both
you're a big leaguer.
we both lost. Okay, so I can't. We both lost, but I will say it does feel like there is a tipping point in each. There's a tipping point in the series that we played in. I'm sure there was for you guys. It either comes early or it comes late, but you can sense when like a team. It comes a point like we were up 3-1 on Chicago, and the Cubs were supposed to be panicking. They weren't. Like they were like, we're good. I think they even like did like no BP next day. They went like no BP, and it was like, and I think we were all like, and then Jake Arrieta came out and they just dirt rolled us in Game 6, and it was like, ooh. Because now the pressure's on us. And so you kind of felt like there was a point where they were supposed to panic and they didn't. And then we ended up kind of getting on our heels a little bit. And I don't know if like for you guys, it was like, hey, we're rolling in. We just swept New York. We got Superman on the bump. He's going to, if we're going to win one game, it's going to be this one. And then Kung Fu Panda comes out and does what he does. And they take Game 1 in San Fran. Was that kind of like a, wait a minute, we're not bulletproof kind of thing?
Absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, we didn't really do anything to put any pressure on them. Like it was they won the game like pretty easily. It didn't feel honestly, it didn't feel like we were the favorites. Like it felt like we had our back, against the wall from the very beginning. And like you said, you got Ver on the mound and you're seeing Sandoval just hit pitches up and away at 98 out. Nobody's doing that. Nobody did that off Ver. But it was a moment where I was like, I'm looking at our big guys. I'm looking at Miggy. I'm looking at Prince. I'm looking at like, hey man, we need y'all. But that's baseball, right? Like it doesn't just because you have the future Hall of Fames doesn't mean that it's gonna go that way. It doesn't mean that they're gonna just come in and start hitting home runs and driving in runs and we're just gonna be playing this incredible baseball. It just didn't work like that.
Dude, that's crazy. Man, well, dude, I can't thank you enough for sharing your journey with us. Because, man, like, I think a lot of people, like, there's fans all over that love baseball, that know your name, that can look at the back of your baseball card and can see, like, the things you've accomplished. But to hear about it from your own perspective, but also go back and hear about the having to make a decision on, do I go to Georgia Tech and play basketball? Do I, so just hearing this story from your perspective and the journey that you took from your own, subjective lens is, I mean, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. I want to ask you now that you're retired, you look back on your career, are you completely satisfied with the way everything went? Do you have regrets? Anything you felt like you would have done differently in your career?
Oh, I have some regrets for sure because I was naive to a lot of things. And I know a lot of people, I have no regrets. I did everything, that I wanted to do the way I wanted to do it. But that's not true with me, man. I would change some things. And we even spoke on it about just taking care of my body better. When I was younger, I think would have extended my career. And I wouldn't have been so bitter towards the end of my career, just if I would have had a better mindset when I was younger about how to take care of my body and just investing in my body. instead of being young, having a little bit of money. Oh, what car am I going to get? What chain, what watch? I'm trying to get a Rolex. But you need to be investing in your body. So that's a regret of mine, because once I got hurt, it just kind of worked its way up my body, and I never really fully recovered from that. So towards the end of my career, I was playing hurt all the time. And that made me bitter towards the game, because I felt like I couldn't play the game at the level that that I was capable of. And so I felt like I was kind of getting looked over. But in my head, I'm like, dang, man, I don't want to tell them I'm hurt, because I don't want them to be like, well, we'll just, move on. So, you do what you got to do. You get out there and you play hurt. But a lot of that's on me. A lot, just not being smart enough and investing in my body the right way.
What was if you had to kind of pinpoint what you felt like was the beginning of the end, was it a single injury? Was it a couple of things? Because I could think back in my career, like, I could think about, when I went from everyday to bench guy, and then I was like fighting for a job every year. Like, there was some moments in my career where I'm like, could I have handled it differently? Or is it just my time? But I just curious, was it a particular moment, an injury where you felt like, okay, this is gonna be an uphill battle if I want to survive this game?
When I signed with San Fran towards the end of my career, and I remember, like, for me, I had to go when the game started, I wasn't starting. I had to go up in the weight room, and I would actually like lift and like I had to do. I couldn't sit there and watch the game. Like, I had to go move my body, because I was used to starting. So
was that the first time you went from So I went from like starting, my whole career, and then 1 year I was just a bench guy. So I had to learn how to do it. Then I was able to do it okay for a couple years, and then it just got hard, man. Like, I couldn't sit there all the time. When my number got called, it was harder for me to like prepare my body mentally, and that's kind of when I knew, I want to play this game for a while, but doing this is tough. I don't know if I can keep doing it anymore.
Just like you said, I mean, with Cleveland that year, that was kind of supposed to be my role, coming off the bench, just filling in, hitting against lefties, but some guys got hurt. And so I got a little bit more playing time, and I did well enough to, stay in there. But when I signed with San Fran, my role had changed. It was basically the role that I was supposed to have when I was with Cleveland the previous year. And when I remember the first time I got called to pinch run, they wanted me to go in and steal. And I looked around, I was like, yeah, this ain't happening. I'm about to get thrown out by 6 feet right now. Like, my body felt terrible, and I had got loose. I mean, I was on the treadmill, dude. I got like a full blown body workout in, and I was just stiff and tight. And I came in, I think I got picked off. I didn't get to steal the base. I got picked off, and I was like, yeah, this is it, bro. This is it. I don't have the spring in my step no more. I was out of it. I was mentally, I was like, this isn't how I want to play the game anymore. I don't want to pinch hit. I don't want to come off the bench and try to steal a base. Like, I'm not that type of dude. So just being hard-headed a little bit too. And that's another regret too.
But how much also changed at that point? You're how old, and you have a wife and kids at home, and at some point, as a man, you got to make a decision too. Like, obviously the money's great, and I wish I could have played maybe a couple more years, but I had those thoughts all the time when I was sitting on the bench. Mentally, it was hard for me to like stay focused on what I was doing. I never knew when my number was going to get called. Yeah. And a lot of people, and for a long time when I was an everyday player, I'd look at the guys on the bench because I was that dude playing every day. I'm like, you got the best job in the world. I play every day. You don't have to worry about anything. And then I got that role. Yeah. And what they don't tell you is, you got to be ready to play at all times. There was never a moment when I was a bench player, they're like, hey, just take the day off today. It's like, every couple of innings got to stretch. I don't know if someone's going to get hurt, or they're going to pinch run, or the lefty's going to come into the third and they might make a decision. Hey, you got to pinch hit right now in the third, right? So mentally, it just got so hard for me to be so focused on the game, and the anxiety of not knowing when I was going to play started wearing on me. And then obviously when you're a bench guy, the pay comes down a little bit more. And I would just sit there and be like, is it worth it? Like, I got a wife and kids, they probably want their dad home. Like, am I having fun? And ultimately I ran it as long as I could. I had to make a decision. And ultimately I didn't make my own decision. I got released. I could have quit or retired the year before, but I still love doing it. And I felt like I could do it. And when they told me it was over, honestly, there was this huge kind of sense of relief. When the Rangers called me and were like, hey, we're releasing you. When I heard that, when Bruce Bochy called me in his office and said, "Hey, we're releasing you," I was like, "Hey, thanks for everything you did." You know, obviously it sucked in the moment. And then when I packed my bag and I got in the Uber and I called my wife, I said, "I'll never play again. I don't care who calls." Like, it was almost a blessing because I think I was just so mentally ready to be home, and I knew my family wanted me home. You know, I'm guessing you had those same kind of thoughts and feelings at some point too.
Yeah, because you don't realize how much anxiety it creates. You know, when you're in the moment, you're just you're just going by business as usual. But like when you're done, you realize you're just like, man, it's just this weight off my back of putting on this mask every day, feeling like I'm performing not just baseball, but I'm performing who I am as a person. You know, I'm going into a whole new different environment, trying to fit in, trying to be likable, trying to perform well, trying to, exceed expectations. And it just wears on you, man. The anxiety and just the, things that I didn't realize that I had until after, I couldn't even watch baseball for a full year. That's how like done I was with it. And then obviously with, kids, I started to get back in it and, started to get that passion, but started to get that itch back. I even got in the softball league, and hey, I'm sorry, they had to had to go find some balls. Hey, you better tell them. Hey,
yeah, I feel like that. I feel like since I've been done, that's been like the greatest compliment that I've gotten. You know, obviously, your wife's a different story. She's with you, ride or die. But like, grandparents or like my wife's grandparents were like a doctor that operated me a couple years ago. I went and saw him again. He's like, "You just look different," and I'm like, "Thank you." And then you start to realize it's like you don't realize the amount of stress, anxiety, your lack of ability to think about anything else except your craft, because the only way you can be good at this game is it's 24/7. Like, I remember in Atlanta, I'd play a game, or I wouldn't play. I probably wasn't playing because I was riding the pine, but I was so involved in what I was doing. I'd get home after a day game. My wife and kids would be out in the street playing with the neighbor friends we made, and she'd be like, "Come on over." And I wanted nothing to do with it. I would just sit on the curb and just be a body. Like, I couldn't conversate. Like, my mind was so occupied on tomorrow's starter, or, did I do enough today? Or like, why is my swing off? I'm not even playing, but like I'm battling the cage against myself and it doesn't feel right. And that's all I could consume myself with. So, when it's over, it is a stress relief. It's a weight off your shoulder. Obviously, none of us would change it for anything, but I don't think you realize how much you're committed to your craft and the game and the stress and the anxiety that comes with it. And once again, I'll reiterate, I wouldn't change it for the world. It changed my life. It changed my family's life. I'm thankful for it every single day. But when it's over, there's a lot to look forward to.
You got to be crazy a little bit, though. That's what they don't tell you. You gotta be a little off. We're a little off, and it's all right. Like, I admit it, I'm a little off. I realized that when I was done. I was like, man, like you said, just being baseball. Like, I'm in the mirror at the house with a bat, looking at myself in the mirror. Like, is that how you look when you standing out there? Gross. like grow up. Like I would never do nothing like that. That's not me. But baseball created that anxiety.
I go through like old photos on my phone from 2016, and it will be like 3:30 a.m. and I'll be in my bathroom in my apartment with my wife's curling iron, like thinking about like where my hands were, where my swing at. Like, I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
I might have like went over 4 the day before, and I'm like, oh, what is wrong with me? And I literally couldn't sleep. I wake up in the middle of the night, and that's all I could think about. Like, don't get rest, don't take care of your body.
Exactly.
Hey, wake up, enjoy your morning. Go to breakfast with your wife, enjoy it. No, I had to get up, put the curling iron in my hand, like find my swing, and then you always think you got it.
Yeah. I found it. That's the grip.
Then I do the same shit.
That is the dangerous cycle of like tinker, find it, tinker, find it, tinker. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, we appreciate you more than you know. This has been awesome.
Thanks for having me, man. This is great.